Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're another comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's falling on a city with me tonight?
Oh, member of the Purple Dragons, Purple Fox.
Welcome back. And we are continuing our TMNT coverage through the Comic IDW series. We've done a few others. Go check those out. I'm not going to look them up because I don't want to, and because a couple aren't published at the time of this recording, but you will go see them in the catalog. Just go find them. There are 4 others for you to go listen to so far. This is the 5th one of that series. And this time we have gotten to a city fall, like the big freaking arc, I feel like, so far. Issues 22 we're talking about to issue 28. And then we're covering a bunch of the villain micro-series that we didn't cover, issues 3 through 8 in this episode. So that's what you get, the spoilers for something that came out, over 10 years ago. So so I never read this. I've seen it, because you sent, like, I know I said this before, you sent me the whole timeline, years ago. And let's just say this was better than I expected.
Better late than never.
So, like, the first cover of the issue of this arc has Raphael falling through glass upside down on the cover.
And what does that remind you of?
The first movie, right?
That's right.
Okay. Except he doesn't fall through glass in this, or get tossed through a roof, or put in a bathtub.
No, none of the above. But I guess a nice callback if that's what they're going for.
Yeah, it probably is. And some damn cool covers. This is one of the things I wish I would have collected this comic, except I would have spent a ton of money on all these freaking issues. There's so many issues with this book.
I mean, they got collected editions now.
Yeah, and I kind of wish I was buying the trades, but if I started buying the trades, I want to go back and buy everything we already covered, and I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, no.
Plus, I don't really buy comics. I mean, I have Sandman. Sandman's the only thing I'm actually buying the whole collection of. Because Sandman's, something else. So, all right, this issue, so I have as I said right before the recording, I have a complaint. So this issue starts off, you have Shredder complaining about their enemies and how, he mentioned, the Savante found a new leader, which is from the French Ninjas from that issue that we didn't actually read, the annual. That I just couldn't bother to be bothered with. I didn't like the art style. This irritated me because it makes it, you can introduce the Savante, I think, one other time in the series?
They kind of sprinkle in their existence in a few issues. That one that's mentioned in the annual is like the first time. Well, that and when they find the one the Sabate that's dying. Oh yeah, and that issue to where they find a new leader is like the most attention they get. And I will say this: it's kind of inconsequential for the most part because as time goes on, it will matter to an extent, but ultimately, I feel the Sabate are kind of forgettable, not villains, but a forgettable group of characters.
Oh, yeah. My guess is after reading this whole City Fall that I won't see them again anytime. So, I don't know. It bothered me because it makes them, I thought they were going to be more of a threat because, they're these French guys that are ninjas and, are fighting afoot and trying to take control of the city. But, their part in this just doesn't matter. They're irrelevant. I don't know. It kind of I expected more. They're
played up to be like the Foot's big foil, other than the Turtles themselves, but like another gang that kind of rivals the Foot. Yet you don't really feel that impact. You don't feel their threat. They didn't really build them up well enough for anyone to really care.
And then you have a 1-page of where it says City Fall Part 1, where you have Shredder and Kisune standing on the balcony looking down and just says we're going to embrace our destiny, even though later on he changed it to embrace his destiny because he's an asshole.
This is true. So they really love this shot here. it is very nice. It's very appealing, very cool shot. Kitsune and Shredder. Mm-hmm. If you notice, they not only did they do it with Shredder one other time when he was resurrected, but they did it with Hob also.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that with Hob.
Yeah, he's looking at I don't know if you want to say the skyline, but yeah, he's looking down on the city. When it's
the skyline is right.
Micro.
Huh. Okay, I did not catch that. I also don't like Hob.
I
still don't.
Him, but yeah. You're not really supposed to for the most part, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, I got issues. and then this issue also does some things that I wasn't expecting. So before this, you had told me, you're like, Casey Jones' father's going to play a lot bigger part than you think, and I'm like, we're not going to get into that until after the break, more so. But
this is all like the same kind of deal with Chet and another character that I've mentioned to you. It's like you really can't take characters for granted in the series, which is great. That means that more often than not, they're useful. They play a purpose. Not so much the Savate.
I thought they did. I really thought they were going to be something to rival them, and they just we'll get there. But yeah, it just didn't appreciate me. I didn't appreciate it. And then you see Raphael and Casey. Because Casey Jones has been living with the Turtles for a few issues now, so it's been like I guess a couple months. He left his father finally. Got tired of getting beat up. It's in the Sins of the Father one that we skipped over back then because we didn't realize I didn't realize that this what my plan was going to be. And they see him. They see he's a drunk, and they just leave him there. And then they get attacked by a bunch of foot. And they fight normal, but they get their asses beat. And Casey gets knocked out, and Raphael gets tied up, and they both get thrown in a van and driven off. And I did not expect how much of a play this was gonna, how important this was to what's coming. Because they catch them, but they don't. Raphael isn't like they do this on purpose. They don't tie him right so that way he can, because they know he's strong. So he breaks free from the rope, escapes the van, and jumps out. And they're like, everything's going to plan.
Yeah, and if you notice, like when they're throwing him in the van, this is the second time that I can recall that Raphael has had duct tape on his face in any continuity. First time was in the second movie.
Oh, okay. It's been a while.
When was it? I want to say when they caught him in the junkyard.
Yeah, something to do with I know he's tied up in the junkyard and he has tape, and then they uncover it, and then Donatello puts it back or something.
Yep. Oh. So that reminded me of it when he's on the ground getting duct tape.
Okay. And then you get back to Turtles. You see them just kind of hanging out. Leo's training with Splinter, and the rest are just kind of doing whatever. And this is when Raphael shows up, and he's freaking out. He's like, they got Casey. And the thing I want to point out is they still, the bandana, especially for Leo and Raphael, kind of kept that the Secret History of the Foot type style, where they're still very aggressive.
It is toned down a little bit. And when I read this one, I didn't feel they were as noticeable. They were a bit different than like Donnie's, who's in the next panel or whatnot, and Mikey's even. But they're way more toned down. Like the other. Yeah,
it's not as bad, but
yeah,
I did notice the
sharp
change.
Edges, and but yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because I wasn't expecting that. And I like how you kind of see, some of like the dynamic between Raphael and Leo, where Raphael's getting just pissed off because, his best friend got kidnapped and is probably going to get killed. I mean, they know it's a trap, but he's like, we got to go save him. And, you get to see Splinter kind of, take over and be like, hey, we're going to go rescue him. We just got to be smart about it. And I like this. And then on the dock, you see Alopex and Karai with Casey Jones just sitting on the dock. They just, they set the trap and they're just waiting.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it's a trap. They're well aware. And this is, then you have a lot of stuff happening at once. Like you have, which I like this, you have Donatello and Michelangelo go underwater to be the amphibious part. You have Angel, who's leaving the bar, which we haven't seen for a little bit, ends up running into April because she sees that, she sees them around. So she starts talking to him and find out what's going on and finds out Casey Jones in trouble. And this is when you have, Shredder shows up, and this is just fucking okay, this is not what I expected. So, they know it's a trap. He tells them like, hey, I got Casey Jones right here. Come and get him. And then, because he wants to make sure that they come, he stabs Casey Jones right in the gut with his claws.
That's and they gave it its own page. So, damn near,
yeah, almost
its own page. And when I first saw that, first time reading it, it shocked the hell out of me. I was like, this is picking up at this point. that's how you really kick off a new storyline.
And it fucking does. Like, this is this whole arc, it starts the intensity and it doesn't stop at all.
And you got to think too, like, yeah, the humans are being used as the damsel in distress kind of deal, and usually that's April's role.
In 87,
Casey is now in that role, which is not very common for that character.
No, but it's really cool. It was really cool to see that. I liked it not being, following the stereotype of the damsel in distress and having it be Casey.
Nope.
Yeah,
somebody who can defend himself, didn't have that opportunity as he was jumped, and now he's dying on the ground at the docks.
Yeah, and you have Raphael just fucking lose it.
So, and that's the exact type of character reaction they should have had.
Yeah, it makes sense. And, they know it's a trap, but they don't understand what's actually happening. Like, you have Karai and Alopex talking, like, okay, keep the prey separated from the herd. And make sure we get him, distract him. And like, they're all just trying to capture Leo, but you don't know that.
Ultimately, the turtles in this instance, they're trying their best, like you said before, with the amphibious assault and everything, and yet none of it ultimately matters because they end up failing. They still lose Leo. Casey is still gravely wounded. What we should mention is when these Donnie and Mike get out of the water, an amphibious assault, Shredder says, "And we're reptiles, doofus."
What's funny? He's like, not what he means, Mikey.
Yeah.
I really got a kick out of everybody. That was funny because again, he knew what they were doing. Like he's like, oh, not surprised. Like he's like, I know it was a trap, and I know you're gonna try to do something different. So it was funny. I really got a kick out of how it went, and I really like the way the turtles are in this a lot. And then you have Angel who helps get Casey Jones out of there. Splinter's, busy with Raphael, and then you see Leo gets hit in the back of the head by a dart, and they knock him out, and then they realize Leo's missing, but they can't, they have to save Casey. They don't get him to the hospital. Fucker's dead. So it's a hell of an opening. Yeah,
the stakes are immediately high at this point.
Yeah, and I was very surprised, and I was in after this. I was like, all right, I am in. I actually read. I think I read 5 parts in a row, which is not what you should do. And then I went and read the villain micro stuff.
Oh, no, you got to read it in order.
Trust me, we'll get there. I regretted it because I missed something. So, and then the next issue this brings us to is, if you follow the timeline, is Old Hob, which again, the villain micro series, which is surprisingly, these are good. I wouldn't have thought it would be good, but they are.
A lot of them are similar in a sense, just because it's, from the first person point of view of the character itself. But good.
And there's so much extra story. I mean, Hob didn't feel as necessary as the others do. I mean, a bunch of the others feel completely necessary for this arc. Hob just gives you Hob's background.
Well, Hob matters for a very long time. He's still relevant where I'm at in the comics today.
Okay. Damn.
So for them to give him some type of origin means it makes sense if they're going to keep him around that long.
Okay, so I'm guessing that where you're at, the Savante are not an issue anymore, or not relevant.
They're not in any issues anymore. To be clear.
Okay. I mean, so Hob just starts off with Hobbs on a roof. He's talking to someone you don't know who. Obviously, I already knew who it was even before this. I'm like, there's only one person he could be talking to. Is he talking to Slash?
Right.
And he's telling Slash about his past. And this hit me. This episode, this part actually hit me kind of like, okay, this is sad. Like, it shows him as a cat, and he's in some apartment, playing with he has a human kid, and he's happy. And this mother just gets pissed off because the kid forgets to do the litter box. I mean, and you can tell, like, by her outfit, she's probably a waitress and she's working a lot and probably a single mother, but still, she takes the fucking cat and throws it outside in the winter in front of the kid.
No remorse.
And just like, well, you didn't clean the litter box, so you get to watch your love die. You'll learn. Like, woo. Just fucking cold. I don't know. That kind of hit me. I think it also hit me because one of my cats was abandoned on a farm that I have now.
Oh, boy. Let's not mention the 18, 19 different cats you've had growing up.
I don't think it was that many, but it was a lot.
Well,
it was like
probably
8.
Not far off.
I think it was 8 or 9 because she got more. I'd already, by the time I left, she got more. So.
Oh, yeah. When I still hear, I thought she even got more recently.
She got another one, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that kind of equates damn near to about 18-ish.
Not far off, to be honest with you. I could do the math, but I don't want to right now. So, and then you see Hob, it shows him fighting a dog and trying to find food, and and he's learning to survive on the street, which again, any animal, really will do. They'll adapt. I mean, humans will do the same thing. Well, most will. Some will just die because they don't have the survival instincts, I guess. But the average living creature will do its best to survive because it's human. It's in our nature. It's in every creature's nature to survive. And you get to see the scene from his point of view where he sees the turtles and he's like, food, and he goes for the turtles, and it talks about how, the rat Splinter bites him in the eye and all that, and how that happened and how he transformed. Except my guess is, when did a human touch him? Because it's not how you transform, but is that just some of the 87 cartoon?
No, that I don't think that's relevant in this here. It's
okay.
Because Ooze, which I think they kind of clarify it later in the series, but you get the purest form of it, which is the Ooze from Utrom, unrefined, That's what has the healing properties that allows you to not only heal limbs and grave wounds, but can also be resurrected due to that ooze.
Okay.
The refined version is the mutagen that StockGen has produced, which the turtles have come in contact with.
Okay. It's been a bit, and I have to remember always in the back of my head that anything from the '87 cartoon cannot and probably not as canon at all anymore. So forget.
Yeah, erase your memory. Like if you had a neuralizer from MIB, now's the time to use it.
'Cause I know '87 cartoon is so God. I'll never go back and watch it because I can't. Because it's fucking awful if you're an adult.
It's impossible.
It was great in 80, it was great in 88, 89, 90 or whatever I watched it as a kid in the early 90s, but woo, it ain't good now. It didn't age well. But I like this. I like seeing Hob transform and hearing how he felt and what happened to him, and then him running into Baxter and Chet right away. And then they, lie to him, say, okay, we'll take care of you. And then you just see how like he's being, experimented on but tortured at the same time, essentially, to see what he can take.
What gets me is like this is one of those times where you get to see a mutant transform right then and there, and then go into a speaking role with someone, and he not only has an accent immediately, but he understands and can speak English the whole time right away.
I like that a lot.
I don't know how that works. Is it because they absorb the English being around humans? I don't know.
My guess is it's something that as a cat in this area, he already would have heard language, but now his brain can understand it.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. I mean,
yes, I think that would be the same way. Like if somebody, like you have kids that are bilingual that live, in a family that, speak Spanish, for example, and then they go to school and they're around people that speak English and they end up learning both languages pretty easily, where my dumbass can't learn another language because I only grew up with one language.
Right. But at the same time, they have practice understanding language and they eventually speak it. But, I may be thinking too far, I'm sure. So.
No, you're more realistic. But I think that's kind of the concept of it, like, because of what the ooze did to him and how much the ooze changes him.
Yeah, like you said, like since they were around the language for that amount.
That's what I was thinking. But I also didn't think much about it.
Yeah.
But I like how he realizes how cold Stockman is while he's experimenting on him. He makes Hamdot. He's like, I was just, I didn't matter. Stockman didn't care as he was doing experiments and tortures, and like causing me pain. He didn't care about anything. He had no emotion. Like, I like that. Yeah, I like that he realizes Stockman's garbage.
It lets you see just how cunning he is, and cats are known for what? Usually being cunning and sneaky. So it just builds more character for him, and that no matter what, he's going to try to come out on top and get his way.
Yeah, and it does a good job of also answering a question that I had. Like, you get to see how Hob was like, okay, Hob got money from Baxter, and he went and, got an army, and he just found thugs, and he paid them, and he beat the shit out of people, and he just had another gang, one of many gangs that are in the city.
And he has a thing for building an army. And
yep, you hear army a lot.
Well, that's what Hob is all about. So his first army is here with a bunch of humans. So that was it. Yeah, they're almost animals themselves. But, he learns from that experience and takes it, and just more and more as he experiences his relationships with all these humans, he realizes he can't trust them. Not that he's to be trusted, really, but he realizes that humans cannot be trusted. And they usually have their interest in mind more so than any mutant ever.
Yeah. I mean, like you said with him, he can't be trusted either.
But that's the thing with Hob too. So it's like Hob is usually, for poor mutants, for mutant rights, and he does play that throughout the series. You'll see a lot of that as things go along. But he not only like double crosses humans, but mutants also. So he's just overall not always the best guy,
as you see in this arc too.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not a fan of Hob. I'm going to say that right now. I'm not a fan of Hob. But he works well for this, so I won't,
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, maybe the writing's working then. I mean, you're supposed to hate him. He's supposed to be a villain, so.
I mean, I like how you see, where the gang is fighting the turtles, and and that they get their ass beat by the turtles, because again, the turtles are well-trained ninjas from a past life. Like, it makes sense that you can't beat them.
Right.
And then you get to see the scene. It goes all the way up to where he gets shot by Baxter. I think we saw in one of the other comics where he was working with Baxter, and Baxter's like, okay, we're done with you, and just shoots him. But he tricked him by keeping Splinter's blood that he took, and he had ooze, so he was able to heal himself when they shot him, which I like. I thought that was really good. And then the issue ends with, which is continued at the next issue we're going to talk about, where the turtles then run into Hob on top of the roof. And of course, they don't trust him.
And as you can see, no Leo.
Yeah, I wonder why. We don't really get we haven't gotten, it's not till the next issue that in this storyline that really explains what happened. So this issue, what is this? 23 is really damn good. And one of the alternate covers is is it Peter Laird or which style is that has that? Or that's Eastman style, right?
Eastman is the artist too.
Okay, where they have Leo tied up and all the foot around him and have that old style look to it, Eastman style.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I don't like that style a lot, but that's a cool cover.
Yeah, it's
we'll say that. Oh, and this
best
is
one of the 4 actually.
This is a good issue too. Like it starts off, they're trying to, you have parallel things happening. You have the Turtles taking Casey Jones to the hospital, and then at the same time you have Shredder taking Leo wherever he's going. And I love that dynamic of seeing both the characters doing different things. And, like there's one page that literally has, it's 2 panels and it has Casey on the gurney. They're saying, "Oh, take him to the operating room." And then it has Shredder with Leo on a gurney saying, "Quickly, you fools." And I love that parallel.
With Leo there in the middle, just laid out kind of like Casey is.
Yeah, like it's just, I was impressed. And it was nice, and I also like how the doctor is like, we're getting a lot of sword wounds lately. What's going on, guys?
Right.
And they're like, because they don't want to tell them. They're like, well, yeah, we don't know we have no idea what's happening here. No idea. Oh, I thought that was really cool. It was definitely something I enjoyed. And I did not see this coming. Like, you have Kissoon with Shredder, and I think he's talking about how, this is where he says, "My destiny, Kissoon," because she says something about our destiny, and he changed it now. He's like, "No, my destiny." Shredder's a fucking asshole.
And these two interact for a very long time in the comic. Very long. And I'm still waiting for you to actually see what role Kitsune really has.
Okay, I'm definitely interested.
And think about this part. This part here where he says, like, "Oh, my destiny." And I mean, Shredder at this point thinks so small compared to the grand scheme of things. Okay, Kitsune, in a way, is just holding everything back and just kind of laughing at Shredder for even saying anything like that. And you'll understand why later on.
Okay. I figured, especially by the end of this arc, she has a lot more coming, and she's using Shredder just like he's using her. Mm-hmm. Is what my opinion is at this point.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's definitely along the right lines.
And I can't wait to see where it goes. And just like, because this is also, you have the Turtles are at their hideout, the church, and they have on big spray painting on the wall, "East River, midnight can help you, Hob." And they're like, "Hob knows." And then you have, so then you find out what Kissoon is really up to, where you have Leo on a coffin or tied down to a table, and you have then Kissoon transformed into her fox form. And you have Leo living nightmares, which this was really odd to me.
It's not my favorite thing. It's brainwashing in the mystical sense. I don't know. I don't have the answer to where like they could have pulled this off any differently. So I guess it works, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they had to do something. And so you have, him fighting the Foot. You have Splinter being just an asshole and torturing Leo, and Shredder keeps saving him. You have the scene from the Leo miniseries, Leo one-shot, where Shredder's in that outfit and he saves him. That's not what happened.
I think the only alternative that I can personally think of is to set somebody off that way or that deep would be to have some type of, like, let's say, false proof that maybe Shredder had something, or Splinter had somehow allowed their mom to die, or he accidentally killed her, he killed her, or some shit like that. But they were there for all that, so
yeah,
I guess it's really kind of dug themselves in a corner on that one, maybe.
I guess they just, but at the same time, like she's using mystical powers to change everything, so he doesn't know what's real and what's fake.
Not my favorite, but I accept.
Okay, and then you have Angel and April. Like I like how April's kind of like, so how do you know Casey or what's going on? Because she likes Casey, as you see, obviously, and I like having Angel back in it. I thought that was cool. They brought her back.
Well, I will say this: like Angel really doesn't. Like from anything I've read or gotten off the character, doesn't really find him as a love interest. She always looks at him, from what I see, like very close childhood friend, which they are, or even like a brother in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I feel like also with April, like she's going to be a little bit jealous.
Oh, April, yeah. I mean, she might not understand their dynamic fully.
Yeah, plus she just randomly met her. So, and I got a kick. I mean, this was an interesting line where you see his father coming to the room, and right when he walks by the door, you have it where Angel says, "You know it ain't right. April, a good guy like Casey don't deserve to suffer like this, but that loser dad of his sure as hell does." And his dad just walks away.
Being the coward that he is, turns right around and doesn't say a word.
I bet she regrets those words, though.
Yeah, right.
Because that had a big impact I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed.
I know you're just itching.
Yeah, I'm trying not to because it's not here yet. But yeah, and then you have a couple more of Leo in his nightmare dream fighting Slash. He kills Slash fighting Krang in a really weird looking body armor, and it was very, very strange. It's
supposed to be some like nightmarish fever dream. You got to think too, like this stuff almost looks like, I don't know if you remember Beavis and Butthead Do America back in the 90s. When they ate when they ate mushrooms in the desert, like their trip that they had looked a lot like this.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Not what I expected, but cool.
Well, I would say, like, if you're ever bored enough and you want to look it up on YouTube, just look up that one scene. Mushroom scene, desert, whatever.
I don't think I'll ever be that bored.
You'll
I don't like Beavis and Butthead,
about.
But I'm kind of curious. So, okay, maybe. And then you have Hob. So you have a small scene of Hob, the Turtles meeting Hob and Slash, and them talking about how he's like, hey, I'll take you to where Leo is. And then it's all bullshit, but yes, that's what kind of bullshit. That's what he's up to. And then the last part of the night, Leo's nightmare, is you see Splinter in that stupid costume we talked about last episode and fighting him. The Turtles are zombies for some reason. And then he finally wakes up and you have Kissoon holding a new bandana above him as he wakes up from his dream world or nightmare world. It's odd.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't what I expected, but I can imagine, like, if I was reading it, I'd be like, okay, I can't wait for the next issue.
Now, I'm not 100% certain, but I think that could still be Slash's bandana that Leo was holding on with him.
Okay.
That he's going to end up wearing.
I think it is, too, because Slash doesn't have it yet.
But we didn't cover much. I don't know if you mentioned that, but Hobbs' plan.
Oh, I did not mention it.
So that he's kind of being a double agent here.
Which you find out in this.
As
I think it's this
yes.
issue. Yeah, it's this issue.
Just how conniving this guy is. Like, he sees an opportunity, good or bad, and he's going to roll with it and manipulate it any way he wants to. And this offer that he's throwing out to the Turtles and Splinter is an indication of that.
Where he's like, hey, I'll help you, and you can then join my army, and we can work together. And again, there's the army.
Yep.
I'm really curious because you've been feeding that line to me since we first started reading these comics. So I'm very curious to see where that all goes.
It has last for a little bit too, so you'll see what that's all about.
Okay. I'm definitely excited because the next, once we finish City Fall, there's not another really big arc until we get to Vengeance, which is what you've been talking about again, which ends with issue 50, which I can't wait. So.
Okay. I mean, you think this is big?
No, I already have ideas. I will not click anything and read anything until that's the reason I'm trying to. Yeah. I'm staying far away from that until we get there.
Yeah, if you somehow stumble across something, you are gonna regret it because there's some big stuff in there.
That's why I'm behaving. I don't look up anything about this. I stopped. I don't want to read anything. And then issue 24 starts off with you have Karai training, and she looked younger in this, so I couldn't tell if this. I thought this was originally like a long time ago, or not that long, but past when it really is just current day.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's training with Katana. Shredder comes in. He's like, "Oh, you're using different type of techniques and this and that." And then he tells her, they have a plan or something with the Turtles. And you have a small scene, which I like this, where Casey's in a dream because he's in he's dying, and and his mother's talking to him and telling him, "You don't have to worry about your father anymore. He's no longer your concern. Just worry about yourself." I really like that.
Decent scene.
And then April hugs him when he wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I really like that. I was like, well, it probably hurts. And the good news I can say, April's face was drawn correctly here. It looks good. I was happy.
Yeah, it's not all grotesque and frog-like.
Just that one panel was so bad.
Whoever that artist was.
I don't know. Again, more parallels, the way they do the art in this, where you have Angel and April looking at Casey, and then the next page down, or next page you would have turned, you have Donatello, Splinter, Raphael, and Hob looking down. Because he's showing them a warehouse, and he's like, hey, Leo's in the warehouse. Like, how do you know? I just know.
Yeah, and he says, what makes you think I'm lying? And they all look at him. Don't say a word.
I love that. And then he has a snicker. Well, I ain't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, it completely makes sense. Like, why would they trust you, buddy? Like, you tried to kill them. You kidnapped their father. Like, Why should anybody trust you?
He has all these reasons to not help them. I mean, Splinter still took his eye. I mean, that right there is enough for him to double cross him or do what he's going to do.
And I assume he never lets that go either.
You'll see as things go. I mean,
Okay.
maybe never fully, maybe.
And then there's a small scene that I really got a kick out of, where Slash is all angry, and then Mikey gives him, like, here you go, have some candy, and he's like, candy. And he's just big smiles eating a candy bar.
Real Toka and Michelangelo-esque.
Yeah, Which again, if I didn't, I would think this is Toka.
Yeah, he looks like him a lot. I mean, he doesn't have the spikes on his shell anymore, which he did in earlier issues, right?
I don't think Slash did.
I thought he did.
I don't remember. It wasn't that long ago, but I don't remember.
Well, maybe not. But yeah, I mean, he does look like him a lot.
Is Toka and Razor in this later?
Want me to answer that?
Yeah, it doesn't. That doesn't bother. I mean, I don't want to know the context, but yeah, I'm just curious if they show up.
Sure, yeah, they're in it.
Okay. I mean, no, that's fine, because they're established Turtles characters. I was just curious. So.
Not in a huge role, but they are in it.
Okay, that's cool though. That makes me happy. I look forward to getting there someday.
Yeah, you got a while, quite a bit.
And then you have Hob leads them to the warehouse, and he's leading the way. He unlocks the door and says, "You guys go first." They're like, "Why aren't you going first?"
They should have been way more suspicious about that.
His line is, they're like, what, no more leading the way? Hey, it's a dark room and you got the pointy knives and sticks. I'll gladly follow. And then he shuts the door and locks it on him. And then, damn it, Hob, I knew you were full of crap. You say crap, little turtle, I say brains. You might be a bunch of death wish idiots, but I sure as hell ain't no dummy. And he walks off. Oh, the other thing with the candy bar is Mikey said that he only gave the turtle Slash half the candy bar because he's saving it to try to poison Alopec because he's part dog.
Yeah, poison her with the chocolate.
I don't think that's gonna work anymore. They eat fucking pizza.
It might still work.
Hell, my dog's eating so much chocolate. Not that I give it to her, but she's freaking just when I was dumber and didn't realize. Oh wait, where'd that candy bar go? So, and she's fine. We had her checked many times. She's just fine. So I don't think a little candy bar will kill it. But it was funny. And they're in the dark.
Your dog's still breathing here.
Yeah. And then you have them in the dark, and then all of a sudden the lights click on. You have Shredder, Alopex, and Karai. One thing I gotta say is this arc really made Alopex stand out where she hadn't before. Like she is in that Shredder arc that we read, Shadows of the Past, a little bit, but this is where she really I didn't realize how much important part she is of his organization.
Yeah, she's like the head enforcer.
Yeah,
realistically,
that was cool to see. I'm assuming she won't be by the end of City Fall based on what that one of the last issues stuff happened. But at the moment, yeah, it was just impressed me. I didn't realize how important she was in this group. And this is where Shredder tells them, they come there for Leo, and he's just telling them, hey, I'm taking over the city. And then you have a couple of pages where you see people in a gang with guns fighting ninjas and getting their ass beat. You hit the Savante fighting the Foot. Fucking Savante. And I like how... Oh, and then you see Splinter lose his temper.
Yep,
because he says,
as we know, he's got those anger issues from the past still that he's mostly mastered. But when he gets the notion that his son might be dead because Shredder's purposely being vague about it, he goes in for it.
He makes it. He says, however, sadly, how will you not be alive to witness my ultimate triumph, Yoshi? Tonight, I end the nuisance you have presented to me over 2 lifetimes. And he says, return my son. He says, your son is no more, Yoshi. And he fucking... Hear me now, devil. If I cannot have my son, I will have your head. And he just jumps at him with a sword.
He thought Leo was dead. I mean, what else? What other implication are you?
Yeah, but this threw me because you have a sword and sword clang, and if you notice, Shredder don't have a sword, and then you see Leo. It says, "I will not allow you to harm my master." Talking about Shredder, and he's wearing he's wearing a foot getup.
He's got knee pads, shoulder pads, arm guards, everything. And
he has the black bandana, and he has the blue bandana tied to his sword.
Which doesn't last long.
No, but it was cool. I was like, wow, because I knew that's what they were going for, because it's even sprinkled earlier in this where they mention where he's like, where Shredder tells Karai, I want Leo to be my second in command. Why he wants Leo, I still don't believe that what the reason he gives at the end of this. I think he's lying to Karai, but we'll get there in the second part. But I'm assuming he thought Leo, since he's a mutant, and because he's his arch nemesis son, that's why he wanted him. I don't think it was ever a test. So that was my opinion. As
far as why Shredder wanted Leo?
Yeah, I don't think it's... he makes it, as his arc continues, he makes it sound like it was a test. Well, I don't think it was a test.
His motives are to Well, I think it's multiple motives as far as like him wanting to sting his rival, being or Splinter, but also he does believe in the skills of Leo. I mean, if he can match with Karai or even best her in most cases, why would he not want him as a second in command? Just him being his rival's son is the icing on the cake for him. That's manipulation.
Yeah, and that was cool to see. I mean, I just feel like he's lying all the time to people. I feel like Splinter's a master not Splinter, Shredder's a master manipulator.
He is. He very well is.
And then you see Leo kick Shredder in the face, gives him the bandana back, the blue bandana back, and just leaves him there. And then he takes out the rest of the turtles. All three of them, Raphael, Mikey, Donatello, go after him, and each one gets their ass beat.
Yep.
And when Raphael goes for him, all of a sudden Leo has claws. He has the claws like Shredder, but only 2 prongs that pop out, and then he uses that to disarm him. I thought that was good. And then he's going to go kill Splinter, but Shredder says, leave him. You guys, he's mine. And then you see them all fighting in the warehouse. But also, like, this is a key thing in this arc is that they don't want Leo to kill anybody.
You're saying even though he's under Shredder, they don't want him to kill anyone, you're saying?
Yeah, because I think they're worried that if he kills somebody, it will break the spell. If the spell isn't fully taken in yet, I think is what it is.
Not positive on that. I mean, do they cover that in the later issues?
There's a comment about it, yeah, where they don't want him to kill because if he kills before it's about it being completely done, it could be broken sooner.
Okay.
That's why they don't want him to kill. That's why they stop him multiple times from killing, because they're worried that will push him over.
Need time to set in.
Yeah. And also, I think, based on the way this goes later on, Kitsune purposely did things to make it not work. Because she's trying to fuck over Shredder at the same time. Pretty sure. Because Kitsune is not his pawn like he thinks she is. And then, as they're all cornered in the warehouse, you have Slash breaks through. I love how the first thing he says is candy? As he starts beating the shit out of ninjas.
And he has the happiest look on his face as he slams his foot soldier face first into the ground.
Who's dead? That fucker's dead.
Probably, yes. If he can break through a wall, imagine that guy's body.
Yeah, and you just got hit face first in the concrete. I mean, there's no way that guy's alive. And I doubt the foot's like, oh, hey, we better get this guy medical attention. They're probably like, fuck him.
Yeah, leave him here.
It's a good scene. And then they run up to see Hob, and they're all pissed off. I'm like, hey, I said I would help you. I got you in. I got you, Leo. I got you to see Leo, and I got you out. But Shredder doesn't know that.
Hob could have told them, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But whatever.
He's like, I told the foot I could deliver you, and that did get the top dog off this cat's back. With what's coming to this city, that's priceless. It's not my fault he didn't know I had another turtle up my sleeve.
Right.
I really like that. And then you have a very solemn moment. The last panel is Splinter holding the blue bandana. And right before that, you have Hob saying, no luck getting the other little greenie back, huh? Let me guess. He went and got himself a new daddy, right? They're like, not now.
Just bad timing for Hob being such an asshole.
And then it shows the next cover of the next issue, which we're not going to talk about. We're going to talk about after the break. And it has Leo on the cover in his foot gear, and I'm just like, fuck, that's a fucking cool ass cover. Oh man, I that's why I couldn't stop reading City Fall. That's why I didn't follow the chronologically thing, and I just kept reading because I had to read more because it's
now you know. Make sure you do it in order.
Yeah, no, I won't. I don't think the next thing we do after City Fall will matter as much. Northampton, Outram Empire, I don't think that will matter from the look of it. So
I don't remember much about that arc, so we'll see when we get into it.
Yeah, just based on the way the timeline is, I don't think it's too much, and I think they're two completely different things. So, but yeah, we'll get there. So this brings us next to the 2 villain micro series. First one that we're going to talk about is Alopex, which. So when I first heard about that these existed, I'm like, I don't give a shit. That turned out to be wrong. And this Alopex one I thought was really good to give you more on this character that I didn't care about. Like it starts off with yes.
This is a character that you might want to pay attention to.
I definitely am.
This kind of lets you know that you should. This is the first time like, oh wait, they got more plans with her. But yeah, she plays a very big role as time goes on. So
okay,
it's none of it's throwaway.
Okay, I didn't think. I mean, I'm more we've been talking about this and reading it. I really have learned don't take anything for granted in this series.
Don't.
Everything pays off. Everything has a purpose. Like this is not a throwaway anything.
I mean, other than these guys that she's infiltrating here.
Well, I figured that within the first page.
But you never know.
They get killed in the first page.
I mean, before you know that, but I mean, it's just like you never know who to take for granted in this series.
Yeah.
And even then, people come back from the dead how many times already?
Yeah, they have. Like, this was cool, where you get to see Alopex is talking about how there's some ninjas who are betraying Shredder and selling secrets, about the foot. She busts into this, corporate area. And I love how she comes up to the ninjas. She said, this isn't a fair fight. So she gives them weapons of what the turtles use, even though one of the turtles is on their side now, and blindfolds herself, says, you use the weapons, I'll stay blindfold. Let's fight. The thing I was thinking about, if these ninjas weren't trained in these weapons, I'm assuming a sai or a nunchuck, you have to be well trained or it wouldn't be a very effective weapon.
Well, I think this is pre Leonardo because.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Leo's not in this, is he?
He's not.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that because I was following the timeline. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, never mind. But this is where you see how vicious she is. She has the one guy cornered and he's like, just let me go. He won't know. And she's like, there is no escape from the foot. And you just see the panel of her giant claw. And you can assume she just murders him and then blows up the building.
Yep.
And I did notice something when she went back home to the base and she walks by and there were two guys. I'm like, guy's got a purple mohawk. Another guy's got some goggles on his head.
Wonder who that is. Yeah, this is, I want to say, one of their first appearances in IDW. I mean, they might have done some a background shot.
They're in the earlier Raphael Micro Series
there
issue.
You go. I knew it was something. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is where you first, it's like, all right, now they're starting to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know this isn't their first appearance. I have their first appearance. Somewhere in a box. I have it in comics. It's not what you think it would be. So, but you have Alopex comes to go see Shredder, and Shredder gives her another mission where he tells her that you're going to go to the place in Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska. I wonder if Shadow Moses is near there, right? Was it near Fairbanks?
I don't know if it was near Fairbanks, but wasn't it on like the near the coast of Alaska? I don't know where Fairbanks is in Alaska.
I don't either. So, but I'm curious now. It's a fictional Alaskan island.
Shadow Moses?
I mean, I figured it was. I'm just curious where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I hear Alaska, that's what pops in my head immediately. So, yeah. You know me. Fairbanks, Alaska has something to do with the... Okay, this is taking longer than I thought it would. Okay, but neither here nor there. But no,
it is not our first, not our last Metal Gear reference when talking about Turtles for whatever reason.
Not nothing. Because it's me and you. And things keep happening that get me to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure one of us will bring it up later on again, too, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's no question there. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's too hard at the moment. So, but I don't think it's that far, by the way. But no, you see, she's sent there, and you can see, like, when they tell her, she remembers, okay, that's where I was caught and transformed into this mutant. And this is another, like, fuck you moment of Shredder, I think, where he's, again, just manipulating people.
Yeah, don't think about it. That is exactly what his intention was.
Okay, yeah, not that, but, like, he's also, I think, digging his own grave with things. Because I'm assuming this plays a big part in what happens later in City Fall.
I think he wanted to know. He wanted to know how she was going to react. And he got his answer.
So she goes there to this base and she's setting the explosives. And as she's walking around this empty base, because he said, there's a war coming. You're right, it's before City Fall. And he's like, we got to, condense our property, essentially, blow up stuff that we don't need anymore, so people can't. I guess I don't understand what the point is. But I think the real point was to test her. And I love how you have her walking through the woods, and then she's remembering that she had a family and that she was a hunter and. It's really cool to see. And then she remembers that a bear had attacked them when they were, when she was a wolf. And I thought that was all really good character building for this.
She's a fox, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Fox. Arctic fox.
There you go.
But it's all good. And then she sees a random fox and, it makes you wonder, was that part of her family before?
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be.
Well, she says my old family.
Yeah. And then she sees the fox right after that. So, yeah. I really liked it. I was like, okay, this is pretty damn cool. And I didn't expect what was coming, where then she smells fire, so she runs back, and Shredder is fucking burning the forest down that she grew up in.
And she doesn't think for more than 2 seconds before she grabs his damn arm.
Yeah, and she smacks him across the face and scratches him.
Oh, yeah, and he's surprised about that himself, that she even got a hit.
Yeah.
Or drew blood, I should say.
Yeah, that's what he even says. He says, it was my idea to use foxes, crafty, so fast, perfect hunters. I hold them in high esteem. And look how you turned out, just incredible. You actually drew blood.
Mm-hmm.
She hits him a few times before then he says, I got to put you in your place. And he just beats he doesn't beat the shit out of her. He just kicks her in the seat, knees her in the stomach, and then throws her on the ground. It's not terrible.
It looks like you might catch her in the face right before that, too. You see the blood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. And she is bleeding in the face.
He does slap.
And he got claws attached, so.
Yeah.
But I like how she flips. She's like, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good moment. And you get to see Foot with flamethrowers. That was kind of cool to me, too.
Something you don't see often, or you probably won't again, honestly, after this.
Yeah, but it's just so like, and you find out the whole purpose of this was to test her. He's like, you're part of the Foot, and, I wanted this to prove that, you are with us. And then I think he calls her his Chunin also in this, which is what Leo is. And, they get in the helicopter, they leave all the fire, which is terrible because the fire's not going to stop. But that's neither here nor there. And then you have a small scene where you have her, envisioning back to back with him, with Shredder fighting the Turtles and Splinter. Yeah, you're right. This is before Leo gets. And then she says, I will fight by my side. I will fight my way back to his side, but I know who he is. He's the bear. And this time I'm going to kill the bear.
Yep. So her plot behind the scenes is rolling from that point on. Where does he say Chunin?
I thought he said Chunin. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't
see it either, and I'm reading right now, but I maybe it's just my brain. I thought he said Chunin though. But yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Reserved for Leo, I want to say.
He calls Karai his Chunin too later. After Leo leaves him, as everyone already knew, obviously. But because this book wouldn't have worked if Leo didn't eventually go back to without the 3 Ninja Turtles. So, all right, and that brings us to the last issue we're going to talk about in part 1, another villain microseries, Karai, a character that I wasn't big on before reading City Fall. Like, I didn't really give a shit about her, but my opinion has changed a lot.
Well, they didn't give her too much character development before this. So this is the first real taste to get on some of the struggles she not only had, but has up until this point. Gives you a little more in depth.
Yeah, I like this. I like this issue. I like how it starts off. And it also gives you more about the Foot. It starts off with her watching ninjas being trained, and she sneaks up on them. Then she starts talking to someone who trained her, or someone that's, part of the Foot, that his job is to train soldiers. And I like this because she's looking for, a vice or just someone to talk to about what's going on. Yeah, I really like that. And I like, finding out more that the people who are, that join the Foot are being trained at some other school somewhere, not just random kids being, picked up off the street and like, oh, hey, you get to play arcades and smoke cigarettes. Join us.
Yeah.
That movie. Still fun though. And you get a lot of backstory. You get to see a lot of what Karai went through. We get to see Karai as a child, watching what her father's up to and eavesdropping. And then she finds the Ashino Himitsu, which is what leads her to learning about Shredder and becoming a ninja.
What I think is interesting, they actually bring up more of the Oroku family, other Shredder descendants. You get Oroku Yori here, who's she's a kid, is the head of the Foot Clan, and you get to see its modern iteration. It's a bunch of people in business suits and lawyers and playing the cunning game of being a thief or a ninja in the way of just stealing assets, making money that way. Maybe even organized crime, exploiting loopholes with through the legal system. Far cry from what the Foot used to be.
Oh yeah, I like this, and I like the fact that you see Karai. She's like, and so it began. During the day, I was the proper girl that my mother wanted me to be. At night, I studied the Ashino Himitsu, hoping to become what my father could not. And you see her on one side, being dressed up, playing piano. On the other side, you see her training and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like this. This shows kind of how she learned more about Oroku-saki, Shredder, and realized that it wasn't just. Because again, if you would have read something in the book that said, okay, hey, you got to cut yourself and put your blood on, this dead guy. Okay, yeah, sure, okay. But he comes to her in her dreams, and she's like, well, yeah, this is a dream, and then cuts her hand while they're dreaming.
Then she wakes up and has the mark on her hand. And this, to me, indicated that while Shredder is dead, he has the same abilities as Freddy.
Yeah.
Because she's by far the scariest version of Shredder I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would also guess because she's blood related, he's able to reach her.
I'm sure that's probably the case. Yeah.
And because she, was reading the book, helped give him the connections.
Right.
Because it in the end of City Fall, when we talk about the Shredder issue, it kind of goes into what happened to him during that time, which is interesting in a way. Not my favorite issue, but we'll get there. And then it shows Karai, where she talks about how she was building up the Foot and then eventually trained ninjas. And it shows her killing somebody who's part of the Foot. Is that her father?
No, that's the guy that was talking to her father in that one room.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if she
Nakamura,
shot
I think his name.
her father or... Okay, she shot this other guy. And then when this guy died, I guess her father couldn't handle the Foot anymore.
He died from, heart disease or something like that. He couldn't take the stress. She says it in one of the panels.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, right here. The stress eventually killed him, leaving me free to rebuild without interference.
Okay, that's cool though. And then as she's talking to her master, when it jumps back to present time, this is when you have Leo shows up because he was sent there to check on the soldiers, and he's like, "Oh, they're not ready," and he starting a fight with Karai essentially. So
he's provoking her.
Yeah, do you think that he would have beat her, or do you think she let him win?
Well, I mean, they kind of clearly say it.
But I think she's lying.
Why, even the master says it. Why didn't you finish this? Let's see here. I mean, if you go through the fight, she gets the first strike there.
Then he kicks her from the ground, and then he's on top of her.
Let's see.
Wait, no, there's a few.
The only moment she would have had is when she kicked him in the face and he fell. That could have been that.
Oh, okay.
Where she had his back.
Oh, I see. Yeah, she could have finished him off then.
hesitation.
Okay, now I get it. Because after that, he takes over, and then he has the. But yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, someone who's trying to kill would have just killed. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. But where she even tells the master, like, yeah, if I killed him, Shredder would be pissed. So.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they do flat out say like she would have won that fight. Now she does mention in the fight, and I think the writers did this intentionally. That all right, let's say that she would have won. She would have killed him, right? And then in that scenario, they make up for it by saying that he's slower, less focused than he normally is when he's himself.
Which I like.
Like right
that
here,
makes sense.
Less certain in his movement, she says right here in this panel when he misses that kick. He seems slower, she says. So that's the only reason. So if he was at his peak, his normal mind state, she might have not had that opportunity.
Okay, I'll take that. And then she talks about how she has a plan that she's working on to take over. And then it shows 2 days later she's at some place and she has a bunch of people who she's training to see who's going to get, I don't think it says in here, but that's what she's doing, who's going to get mutant powers. And she's like, we're going to do a contest, a simple one. Last one standing wins. And they all start fighting. And part in that room is...
What do you see in that lineup?
Yeah. Bebop and Rocksteady. But I also had read more of this than I read that, so I'm like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. Then it jumps into the next issue, which is issue 25 and more of City Fall Part 4, which we are going to talk about after the break. And we're back from break. It's only been a few seconds, not a week, of course. So we are here to continue our talk of City Fall. And first, we're going to start off with issue 25. So I read this twice again, Rich, since the last time we talked.
I think that's going to be the going theme as you continue to read along. So,
but first, I got it. The cover for this. I feel like I would have bought this in the store had I, been buying comics at the time. The cover is Leonardo dressed up in his foot gear, and it's fucking awesome. Yeah,
like if you're not caught up and you just see this on the stands and like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? I mean, that clearly kind of looks like Leo. I mean, if you really don't know what's going on, like, is that their version of Slash? Like, it is.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I might have thought that had I not known what was had I not been reading it, just randomly walked past this comic.
I mean, realistically, like, if I saw this and I had no idea the backstory behind it, I would have assumed something like Slash, and it would make me want to at least kind of skim through it, kind of see what's going on there.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I really love some of these covers, because the way that we're looking at it, we get to see all the covers, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I do enjoy. And then this issue starts off with my favorite guys, the Savante.
Mm-hmm.
You have Karai is loading some stuff with a foot, and you find out she's being used as a patsy to lure out the Savante. I'm so sick of the Savante.
Yeah, I mean, this move of theirs right here, even though it's kind of a trap, she's being used as bait. It's their biggest like power move for the most part. Like and that's it. This is kind of where it ends for them.
Yeah, I mean, because they think, oh, we got you outnumbered, and then foot soldier Leo shows up and ends up beating the shit out of Savante with more foot, and then Karai's not happy that she was bait, which makes sense.
Yeah, that's that struggle that she continues to just like it's almost like being at a job to where you're good at your job and management just shits all over you. We all know what that's about. This is what Karai is going through, and she's just still not quitting yet as much as she wants to, and is kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, and then you have this is where Leo doesn't kill somebody so he can send them back with a message, but the real reason is he was told not to kill. They
don't cover it yet.
No, but that's what it is, because the whole thing is if he kills, it breaks the spell, so they won't let him kill anybody.
It's one of the morally polarizing activities he can engage in. That is why it would break him out of it for the most part.
And I mean, it makes sense. I like it that nobody knows that in this but Kitsune and Shredder, because it's not voiced to anybody. You know, in Shredder fashion, he keeps it to himself, which fits Shredder.
As far as Leo knows, he just doesn't want to kill anybody, but he doesn't really tell him why. But you can't tell him why. The real reason, anyway.
Nope, he cannot. And then you have more of April and Casey bonding, which the more I read this, the more I really like them in this. I like their relationship.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I kind of like the opposites attract dynamic.
Yeah.
Smart brainiac versus the roughed up, impoverished kid. I like it.
It works really well for what it is in here. This is also when you have them, the first time they kiss is in this issue, which again fits everything. You know, Casey's been, almost died. Like it all fit. It all makes sense.
Yeah, they're going full. If they're going to do it at all, this is the time to do it. And they're going all in.
I definitely like that. And then it shows Raphael beating up a few people. And this made me laugh because the two people he's fighting are from that one annual that we didn't bother to read because it's just so bad.
Yeah, they call back to that. And yeah.
I'm like, okay, sure. Whatever, you guys. I have no idea what you're talking about, but all right.
And one of their very little callbacks, that annual happens to be some of the most throwaway characters that you could ever imagine. That just tells you something about that annual.
I kind of want to read it now just because I feel like, well, maybe I should at this point, but that's not good.
Oh, man. Good
I moved
luck.
on.
I mean, it's hard.
The black and white is what did it for me. I don't like black and white TV. I don't like black and white comics. I don't like black and white.
Unless it's Walking Dead, black and white, I don't enjoy it.
I've read the first volume of that, but that's it. I've never read any more of that.
I read like the first, 10 or so comics. It was good. Like I'll probably continue it eventually.
No, it definitely is good. I just, it's one of those things.
It's got to end up better than the show, hopefully.
Oh God, I fell off the show completely because it just got too gruesome.
Well, that's what killed it for you. It was how boring it was for me. I had to cut that out.
No, when Negan get introduced, I just fell off. I just had enough of it. That's what did me in. But okay, then after that, because Raphael's trying to find out what's going on. I think with the whole gang, like what's going on with Shredder, because he's trying to figure out where Leo is. And this is then you have the Savante again beating up some foot, and Victor, who is the leader of Savante, which happens in the annual. I didn't understand, like they have a round table where all these people, like mafia people, are sitting at a table for the Savante. I don't understand that, but is that simply just because we didn't read it?
Some of these are also other crime, like organized crime leaders, like that.
Okay.
I think the triad Chinese girl sitting there with the dragon on her.
Oh, she's in another. Okay, I didn't realize that's her.
Boys, yeah.
Yeah, because her story will be taken care of here shortly while we're talking today.
And and then Antonio here in the big chair, the older guy. You see him at the end of City Fall with Shredder and all that.
Okay.
So.
And there's the one guy that disagrees with Savante that you don't see ever again because he takes a dagger to the neck.
Yep.
I like
showing how ruthless the Savante are, but at the same time, that's
fucking
again,
weak.
that is it. That is all you get.
You don't see them again after this, or after this arc. They're done. So
they feel very much so like insignificant background characters. They don't feel like a threat at all.
Which it bothers me actually. It really does, because I expected more from them, and I was kind of let down that they don't do anything but die.
Yeah, there's no organized crime in this comic that even stands half a chance against the Foot. But Savate might be a little bit of a minor nuisance, I feel, but not much more than, like, let's say the Purple Dragons might be. Like these guys just know some martial arts that make them stand out a little more, but that's it.
It don't end well for them.
No, they really
they
suck.
Oh God, they do. And then you have a very interesting page, I think, or panel where you see Shredder has like the hawk, and then it catches a rat and kills a rat while he's talking to Kitsune and Leo.
Mhm.
I like the metaphor what they're going for there. Is it just killing the rat, eating the rat?
Well, and remember, pay attention to everything, even pets in this comic, by the way.
Okay. Is this hawk going to come back to me, I assume, at some point?
Does he say it's a hawk? Because I don't even think that's a hawk, to be honest.
I don't know if he says what it is. It just a hawk makes sense to me.
I think it's a
He just says
falcon.
Koya.
Yeah, Koya is the name of the bird.
And no, I will not be Googling that. I
Great.
learned my lesson. So I will not have anything to do with that. Okay. And this is when Shredder tells Karai that it was Leo's plan to use her as bait, because she gets all pissed off that she's being used as bait. Which makes sense. I mean, she should be the second in command.
Yeah, and she knows it. Again, management shitting on one of their best employees.
That doesn't happen in real life. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, it's a fairy tale.
So, I really like when Leo's looking at Shredder and Kitsune and he starts having like where the illusion is starting to mix with reality and wear off, and he sees his mother and Splinter in human form instead of Shredder and Kitsune. And I think this is when they start to realize that it is wearing off. I'm assuming Kitsune did it on purpose.
What?
Set it up so it wouldn't last.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're doing anything to really progress it and make it last. They're not doing anything for it. If it's going to wear off, it's going to eventually wear off, but they're not even upkeeping it.
No, but Kitsune seems very, like, she's playing the long game, like, big time, is what I got from this in your comments when we talked before.
Yeah, we have no idea what that long game really means.
No, but I know that she's not actually,
about.
like, she's using Shredder, just like he's using her. And here's one of the dumbest decisions in this comic, is you have, or not the comic itself, but two of the characters in this comic. The Savante sends back a box with a hand, with someone's hand cut off and says war on there.
That very mafia-esque, and
I thought it was it should have been a foot. Should have cut off a guy's foot and sent the foot.
Yeah, it would have been more poetic.
But I'm like, this is like the dumbest thing they could have done. Like, you shouldn't do this. Like, why are you starting war? But Victor is an idiot, and he thinks him and Savante are going to win. And then you have a good scene that I unfortunately, when I saw this, it didn't make sense. So Casey's father goes to see Casey, in the earlier issues. It doesn't work out. When he goes home, he punches a mirror, rips off his shirt, and you see a giant purple dragon Durgon C. Mikado tattoo on his back.
Correct.
And I didn't put two and two together at first. I did not realize who he was when this first happened.
I mean, when you first see that, you don't necessarily think that's the route he's going to go, or they're going to go with this character. I mean, you think like, oh, maybe they did mention he was part of the Purple Dragons before, and I'm pretty sure they mentioned that before. He was a leader in the Purple Dragons, but that was
They did, yeah.
But they didn't go into more detail than that into what he called himself.
And it didn't click for me. It did not click when I saw this, and it clicked for me because I screwed up reading. So as I'll explain shortly.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's you see that you see him revealing himself to be the Hun, and then you have Splinter who sneaks into where Hob is, and old Hob is a whole house full of guns and sniper rifles and shotguns. Like, that is a cool image. He's just sitting there with all these weapons around him.
Yeah, I know people that in real life that are not that far off from that. That's a real thing.
Yeah, I can believe it. I mean, some people are gun nuts though.
Yep.
In general. I don't know.
And they can't even explain to me why they like that, but that's another story.
I have a sword. That's my. I have a master sword. That's my protection. I literally have a master sword.
Is it? Didn't I see it before?
Yes, I think so.
Is it actually sharp?
I don't know, but they won't know that. If a naked guy comes up to you holding a sword, I don't think it will matter too much if you break into their house. And if the naked guy is standing at you with a sword, you might be like in shock enough that it might work.
What do you mean naked guy?
I sleep naked, so if someone was to break in the house, I'd come out with a sword.
Jesus, maybe that's something you don't want to let your listeners know.
I don't care.
A small bonus for everybody.
And then you have Raphael, who's trying to find out more information. He ends up going after like two. I'm assuming two crooked cops that he beat. That I think are also from that annual, but I don't know.
I think they might have been, but again, it's inconsequential, so insignificant.
No, I mean, it's just there to show Raphael being angry and blaming himself. And you have Mikey having a small serious moment where, he gets pissed at Raphael for being like that. And just, seeing them, being brothers. And then you have a very important part that you see here where you have Leonardo, Shredder, Alopex, and Karai are looking at the Savante headquarters, getting ready to attack them. And surprise. And murder them all.
Yeah.
Terribly. And then the last page, which didn't happen yet, because this is kind of a weird where, like, this is mentioned in one of the, well, I guess it's kind of mentioned in one of the miniseries that we talked about before, Karai. But the last pages you see, it says rock and roll, and you see Bebop and Rocksteady being transformed.
Yep.
Which, one thing I gotta say is I couldn't believe how much the miniseries and other things really affect the main series in this book.
Yeah, you'll miss out on some
Mm-hmm.
semi-important details by reading those.
No, it would be bad if you didn't, and I find that kind of impressive that how much they affect the main stuff, and I do like it. So, and then the next thing this will bring us to, we get to another one, the villain micro series, the Hun. This one I really like. I like the fact that it gives you so much background on this character before you really get introduced to him.
Yeah, this was a good one. This is good timing for it too. Really puts the pieces together.
It also confuses the hell out of you because it starts off where you see, Casey's father, Arnold, and he says, like, hi, I'm Arnold. He's at an AA meeting, but he's all buffed up. He doesn't look like himself for some reason. He has blonde hair again, but you don't know why. I think that it does a good job, and it also really shows you, like, because it goes back and forth, kind of showing you how, he was the Hun, and he tried to change his life because of a woman. And then he, had a kid, and then his wife died and started drinking, became an asshole, and then seeing his son, almost killed, drove him to give up alcohol and to try to do something with his life. The part that I think is really interesting is when they show him walking down an alley and Leo runs into him to convert him to join the Foot, and he doesn't realize that it was the Foot that almost killed his son.
Yeah, and Shredder is very, very vague when he talks to him about the people that attacked Casey's son. He's like, oh, I know who did it. Yeah, of course he did.
You're looking at him. I wonder who it could have been. I'm pretty.
So yeah, he does not know any of this information throughout this and even afterward.
The part that I have a question about, so he brings him there, they beat the shit out of him a little bit, and then they convince him to join, to go back to the Purple Dragons and to join the Foot. And he offers him the Ooze. Why doesn't the Ooze turn him into a mutant, but instead just makes him super strong?
So I think we actually might have covered this once. It's when the mutagen, because it's not regular ooze, right? Like I don't think it's regular, like, unrefined ooze, because that, from what I understand, just has healing properties. For it to make him that big, since he wasn't an animal before, if it is refined or not, it caused him to just kind of grow monstrously, like
steroids,
almost like a huge amount of steroids. Whereas, like, the mutagen that changed Bebop and Rocksteady was changed to do that to them. It was probably mixed with animal DNA. As you can see, they were in the actual lab with some other method. And
it's not like the old story of, here, I touched the rhinoceros, so I turned... I gotta get that out of my head, huh?
Yeah, man, I mean, if you like that enough, there is a show you could watch.
I don't. I just always remember in the 87 cartoon when Bebop Rocksteady are tied down to the table the first time, like, what are you going to do with us? And what are you bringing those animals in here for? And somehow that works that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just curious, but that makes sense. Anyway, we did talk about it. I don't remember when. It might have been the first part of this episode. I don't remember.
It might have been, but...
it's only an hour ago, not a week ago. So, but... Okay, and then the Hun as the Hun, he goes back to the Purple Dragons. He pretty much beat the shit out of Angel almost, and it shows him essentially, like, he takes charge. He comes in there, he pushes Angel around, almost kills her, and beats the shit out of everybody else there. So he ends up becoming, the leader again. I do like that you see him go after the people who, I think it's in Casey microseries, who end up stealing that necklace and beat the shit out of him, the loan sharks. You see him go back there and steal all their money and just beat the shit out of them. I did like that.
I don't remember that. It's been so long for me.
Yeah, it wasn't that long for me. But I did laugh when you see Hun bring him money, bring Shredder the money, because, he's trying to make a difference.
Well, I think he is. I mean, because a lot of other times some of the Foot was failing. I mean, Hun is pulling his own weight, and that's a lot of weight. This guy's over probably 300 pounds. So
easy.
He's pulling his own weight.
300 pounds of pure muscle, looks like, too.
Damn near.
It's good. And then he shows up to Casey wearing a suit. He's like, I fixed up my life. I got a job. working for your attempted murderer.
Told him
He
to
leaves
stop
off that part.
drinking, and he tries to give him a new mask.
So it wasn't just me. That's the original mask, right?
It's actually not.
I mean from the series, the original series. Sorry, 87 cartoon stuff.
Oh, just that look? Yeah, I would suppose so. I think, yeah, maybe. Now that you mention it, I didn't really think about it.
I know it's not the mask he wears in this because he gets that from Angel later, and it's a regular like Jason hockey mask. Where this one really reminded me of either the old comics or the old cartoon. I just know the old figure had it. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
because I had that.
That's the closer to the original design. Yeah,
and I like that he rejects it. And one is from his father, but also to me, it felt like this is a different character. This isn't the Casey Jones that you had in the Mirage comic, or the Casey Jones that you grew up with in the 87 cartoon. So this is a different night. I got a kick out of that. And again, you see the Hun beating the shit out of Savante people, because everyone beat the shit out of Savante people in this.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't like Savante so much is I really thought they were going to be something in the TMT arc when we were first reading some of this, because they're in one of those issues, and they turned out to be a nothing. And it kind of bugs me.
Just wasted opportunity with that entire group.
Only to be murdered brutally.
Yeah.
And then
if you're going to introduce, maybe they shouldn't have went with the theme of city war at that point, because there wasn't really much of a, when you think about it, wasn't much of a war, right? Like you could have had a couple other ways to go. You could have brought in some group of mutants that are warring with Shredder, like Karai could have led that, or they kind of hinted at that anyway when she made Bebop and Rocksteady, or maybe the Purple Dragons when Hun got back into power, like could have tried to have a war with Shredder and the Turtles were mixed in the mix and all that. So could have went a few different ways. Sabate were kind of a waste to introduce.
Yeah, I really believe so.
Even the short-lived Ghost Boys.
I didn't even realize they were in that issue that was the leader of the Ghost Boys.
Yep.
And I don't think, well, I can say for a fact, you don't see them in any other issues before this, and in one other issue.
Ghost Boys? Not that I've ever noticed. If you did, it's more of like probably somebody getting their ass beat and you didn't notice it was part of that gang.
I don't even think so, because I read this twice, because I've been reading a lot.
Probably not. You're probably right.
It didn't click. And so the last part of this book, you see the Hun at AA Anonymous got his 1 month sober chip, because he's showing that, he went a month without drinking alcohol, and even though instead of drinking alcohol, he became a, killer. But hey, that's okay.
Well, that's how flawed of a character Hun is, right? I mean, for as many positive steps as he took forward, which are like 2, he took about like 10 steps backwards at the same time.
Yeah, I found it. So I can't remember. I'm assuming the first time I ever heard of the Hun was the 2003 cartoon. And that's the first time I've ever seen him.
As far as I know, I think that's when he was introduced.
Okay. I'm assuming I'm looking right now to see, but yes, it was it was the 2003 series. Looks to be the first one I'm seeing.
That's when I remember seeing him ever. Like, I don't remember him in the comics or anything else.
No, and everything I'm seeing just points to that being his first appearance, his 2003 cartoon. So yeah, he wasn't around until then. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad that a character that they just created for that really good cartoon ended up becoming, in the comics. It normally doesn't happen that way. Harley Quinn is one of the few other things Harley Quinn blew up, of course, but it's not often that you have a character come from a TV show and end up in the comics. So,
right.
That's cool. All right, and that brings us to issue 26, which is another part of the regular City Fall stuff. Covers aren't too special here, but there's one cover of one of the Eastman covers with Shredder and Leo fighting more Savante.
Yeah, I guess. Then when they blast through that glass, we'll see later on.
So the first part of this issue starts off with Leo talking to his mother. I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be Kitsune or this is actually supposed to be his real mother when he's having a dream, but I'm pretty sure it's his real mother.
No, that's his mom. I mean, as you get to see throughout the rest of City Fall, he keeps seeing those visions anyway.
Yeah, which is cool to see. And you see a lot of Leo, like whenever he's not fighting, he doesn't have the bandana on. He just has, the black tape around his arms and legs. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have all the other gear, which is cool. I mean, that it's, because when he's a regular turtle, he always has the bandanas on. They don't take them off, really.
Yeah, it's more rare. You'll see that like way later in the series. Okay. Like on their down moments, you'll see them take it off a lot more. And then sometimes you're just like, who the hell's talking right now? But you'll see.
Okay. And this is where No, wasn't that next? Okay, and then you have a small part. You have Angel is beating the shit out of some thugs that were stealing from a liquor store. And this is when Raphael's like, "Oh, hey, what about the purple dragons?" She's like, "Yeah, they're not going to listen to me right now." She doesn't say much. Like, she doesn't say, Casey's father came back and took over. She just mentioned that they're not working with her.
So at this point, Raphael's whole thing, other than helping her out and whatever, stopping crime, he's asking her for her support from the Purple Dragons as much as he can get, whether or not it's going to be just her or them. He's looking for more support because at this time, when you really think about it, the Turtles aren't really in a good spot.
Oh, God, no.
Leo's out of the picture. That is their leader to begin with. And you got Splinter, who is pretty much filling in the role for Leo here. He had to step up and physically get involved a lot more and just lead the team as much as can be. But they need all the support they can. They're going against a very big group of villains here.
Yeah, and then they're not. And you can just see how tore up they are by him not being there. I mean, I think it would have been easier had he died versus him being brainwashed and they don't even really understand what happened. I mean, that's really
it
hard.
Hurts because they don't understand that he's completely brainwashed. They just think,
why
maybe
is he
that's just how he's feeling, or there's a lot of emotions running through when you see something like that.
Yeah, you're just being betrayed by your brother. You don't know why. So and this is also where you have Mikey ends up reconnecting with the guy from the pizzeria. I forgot his name. That's okay.
Woody.
That's a stupid name.
Well, it's a dumpy character. So I was thinking the same thing when I was reading. I was like, what a stupid name. And I was like, you know what? It's fitting. This is just some goofy guy who works at a pizza spot.
Yeah, who's stealing from the pizza place, too. We got to add that in there.
Yeah. For the greater good, mind you.
Pizza Hut would disagree. I like this. I really... it was good to see them connect again because it had been a while since they connected because of the Slash, during the Slash part, which was a few issues before this. Like, they had that falling out because he almost got killed by Slash. And so right after this, you have another one where the micro series becomes important. You have Donatello going to go meet, I think it's Harold. Yeah, Harold, which is in that one of the issues of the micro series from earlier, Donatello's thing. And I like where April goes to the place and they see this lab and they're like, looks more like something straight out of a survival horror video game. You asked me.
Yes.
I like that.
Raccoon City type stuff.
That was cool. I really like April this.
She is good in here. She's
good in this whole arc. The rest of it?
Yeah. She's good throughout the whole comic, as you'll see. She's pretty consistent. You'll see, like, what I've noticed as we were talking here, the Turtles, and this is the first time I think I've really noticed this in any iteration of the Turtles, that each one nearly has their own personal friend.
Oh, yeah.
You got, usually it's just Raph and Casey, right? I mean, Casey's the oldest one of them all, and the mainstay. But then here's Mike with his friend, and Don with his scientist friend, and Leo doesn't really have that, but everybody else does.
Okay. I didn't think about that. Because you haven't seen Harold since that one issue, and I don't know if I'm assuming Harold will come back now at some point because nothing in this comic ever feels that throwaway. Like they bring everything back.
Other than the Savate, yeah. I mean,
okay, there's the throwaway.
there's your throwaway. But otherwise, yeah, Harold, I'll let you know now. He does play a longer role in the comic.
Okay.
And one that I think you'll actually like. So Harold's actually a pretty good character overall.
I do like how he won't open the door for first. He's like, Donatello, you brought someone else. And then April jumps on the camera and goes, hi, I like inventions and this and that. They're talking and and also the door opens.
Yeah.
And her comment, just a little trick of the light, my friend.
Yeah. I really like that one.
I got a kick out of that one. Hey, women use their charms, okay? It's not unrealistic. It works on people, men and women. I liked it. And I liked how Harold gives them something that they really end up needing to. Because he gives them the gauntlets, which are going to play a big part when we get into the big fight that's coming up here in a few issues. And it's just cool to see that, they have to get, they're getting more weapons and technology to help them beat an enemy they can't take.
Right. Well, I mean, and they're trying to play towards each turtle's strength, and they're allowing Donnie to shine, even if it's kind of on a more minor scale or a short scale, he still gets to shine a bit with his character at that point. Because they could have succeeded without it, realistically. But it gives the character some more development, and you get to see Harold and what his role is going to be as time goes on.
I disagree. I think if
As
they
far
didn't
as-
have the gauntlet and they didn't have the things that they do have when that final fight comes, their asses would have been handed to them as we'll get there. So,
Well, I mean, we could get. Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I think we'll get to it. No
okay, but okay. I mean, you could be right. I mean, you think the turtles would find a way because they are crafty and adaptive. They just
to me, it just made the job a little easier, which is
made it a lot
fine.
easier.
That's what technology is supposed to be used for, right? So, I mean, they did the right thing.
And then you have a part that I enjoyed. You have the Savanter getting ready to fight the Foot in their big tower, and then the Foot just Shredder and Leo and other Foot ninjas just jump into the door and just start killing them. And then Alapex and Karai come from the bottom, even though they weren't supposed to, and just take out the Savanter. And you only see a couple pages of this, and the Savanter are dead. Like, they don't last long. So, fucking Savanter.
Yep.
But in between this, you also have what Hob and Splinter are up to, because Splinter wants Hob's help, even though he did betray them in the previous issue in part 1 of this episode we talked about. But here, the deal is that Hob will help them if Splinter does him a favor. So he has Splinter get to be a ninja, which is cool to see, and sneak into Stock Gen to steal some of the Ooze. I think it's Ooze.
It is.
Or maybe it's Mutagen. I don't know. He's stealing something. I don't know if it's the unrefined or refined version, but he's stealing whatever Stock Gen had.
Yeah, I don't know either for sure, but he's stealing something.
And this is good because you have Hob who sends Slash to go plant bombs around it while Splinter is stealing, Ooze, and like you see him be a ninja, you see him sneak around laser, you see him beat the shit out of a guard really quick and apologize for it. Like, even though that guard is dead. So Splinter didn't know that, but that guard is 100% dead.
Which one?
That guard that he knocked out.
Which
So
one?
in the panel, you see Splinter, he knocks out a guard with a gun.
Well, not yet. I mean,
No, he didn't. Splinter didn't kill him, but that man did not get up and leave that building.
You went past the Savate part with Leo? Or?
Yeah, well, I'll double back to it. I just wanted to finish this part.
Okay.
So then you have, during that, the building gets blown up. Splinter goes his own way, but Slash was sent to go plant bombs, and Hobbs blows up the building. That's why I'm saying that guard is long gone.
When they hit that trigger, that's it. That guard is done.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, And then throughout this, to go back to what I did skip over, you have the Savante stuff where they go in, they're beating the shit out of Savante, and then Leo ends up confronting Victor, the leader of the Savante. And he tries to shoot him. I think he almost beats him, or no, what happened here? Oh, he pulls a gun on him at the last moment, and that's when Shredder cuts off his hand. So.
Actually, Leo cut off his hand.
Did Leo? No, he doesn't scream my hand till... Because I think Leo just cut his hand. You didn't cut it off. Because you do see an image where he hits it.
Well, no, I think
can't
he
tell.
cut it off.
Because he does scream.
Oh no,
but...
he's still got it. He's got it still. If you keep going, he's still got it.
Yeah, it's when Shredder... I mean, he injured it badly, I think. Or maybe he broke it. But Shredder, when he pulls a gun on Leo, Shredder takes the claw, calls him a coward weapon, cuts off his hand. That's when he cries, "My hand!"
Oh, okay, yeah. If you see it here, and when Leo throws a smoke bomb down, he grabs the gun, and then it says crack. So yeah, like where his wrist is. So yeah, he definitely broke it.
The way I look at it is like, when the guy's all upset about his hand, like, you know what's going to happen to you, buddy, right? Like, you're going to be dead. Like, there's going to be a lot worse things probably happening to you than your hand being cut off.
Right.
I don't think I'd be worried about my hand. I think I'd be like, oh shit, my life is over. And it will not be a pleasant whatever's left of it.
Especially in his line of work.
No. And then you have Raphael talking with Casey, and I think this is when he tells Casey about, his father went back to the Purple Dragons.
Yep. So one thing about with Stockgen here, when it gets blown up, you don't get to see the reaction from Stockman about this, which I don't remember. I'm sure they cover later.
I'm sure it's the next arc.
Yeah, like how big of a blow is that to Baxter? Like his entire lab is gone.
Yeah, it's got to be a big one.
And I forget, where is Baxter at this time?
He is on the island working on the techno.
He's on. Oh, okay. I figured he was on Burnout. I just did not remember.
Yeah, because he's not involved in any of this stuff at all. So we won't be. I'm assuming. Not assuming. I know he's in the next arc. Not the Northampton, but the side arc another miniseries that takes place during that Utram Empire. That's where we hear about him again.
Right.
But yeah, I know he's on the island, so he doesn't know. I look forward to seeing his reaction, though. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to be happy. I'm sure he's going to be pissed. And then you have Karai shows up, even though, and she sees where Shredder has his arm on Leo, and this kind of leads up to more stuff that is coming, where it really is you know, you can, like, 'cause the last panel is Karai and Alopex is looking kind of like shady, for lack of a better word. Because again, it's going to lead up to them are both going to, you know, try to betray Shredder, essentially. You don't know that, but that's what's coming.
Well, that's, as we see later on, Karai kind of doesn't really pull the trigger on that, whereas the other one is really down for it.
She betrays him. It's just
Shredder?
less. Yeah, because by making Rocksteady and Bebop, that is a betrayal.
I suppose it is in a sense, but she didn't use them against him.
No, I think she would have had she needed to, but they're also dumb as fuck. But I think
she
that's
wasn't counting on.
So that brings us then to that miniseries, or not miniseries, that one shot, the Rocksteady and Bebop. This was not something I expected at all. These are like, they took the 87 stupidity of the Turtles cartoon and made it work for these characters.
They did, and that's actually pretty entertaining. the way that they write them. I mean, these guys never shut the fuck up.
They're the two worst characters, but they're great.
Like even later on with what they pull in the last issue, like the whole time they're just running their damn mouths the entire time. And in this issue, you'll see it even more.
Like, I think it really does set the stage when the first panel, or the first page, well, the first panel is Bebop getting punched in the face, and there's Rocksteady getting beat up. Like, they're getting kicked out of a gang for being assholes.
They're deadbeats. They're losers.
And they even tell them, get rid of the headband, or get rid of the glasses and the whatever the hell. I think they make comments about that.
And their names, I think they go in more detail later on in the series, but their names are like based on musical genres. He brings that up.
Oh yeah, where he says, "Oh, this is what he says." Oh, and just a suggestion: try losing those stupid gang names in quotation. Then he's like, "They're music style. Don't anybody care about music?" And then Rocksteady, he only listens to top 40. I don't know. I just thought it was just funny.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, and then where they live, such a shithole.
That is a complete shithole. It's just a random apartment that's abandoned that they're just living at.
Mm-hmm. It looks like somebody's house that we used to know.
There'd be more garbage on the floor.
That's sad.
A lot more garbage.
Yeah.
But yes. And this is when you have them go to a bar because they're trying to join another gang, and they hear someone talking about the Foot Clan and the Shredder, and then this is when they end up meeting with Karai and end up where Karai is trying to recruit two people to turn them into mutants. And you have like, because you see a little bit of this in one of the other issues where they had like a fight club essentially, and Rocksteady and Bebop were the only two that were standing after this fight, and you just have an image of them just all covered in blood and people around them just bleeding. This
is Karai's way of vetting best fighters out of the group and the most ruthless. So she got what she wanted, just physically, maybe not mentally.
Yeah, but it wasn't a very smart smart move in my opinion.
For Karai to do that, no, it's not.
Because you get the worst of the. They might be strong, but they're fucking stupid.
So that mutagen seems to make animals very intelligent. When you're a human, it doesn't really seem to do anything to your intelligence. Apparently, no, especially with these guys.
I really like the part where they're sitting there picking out the animals that they're going to morph into. And they pick out the rhinoceros and the. I really like that. And then he makes a comment about a dinosaur. I wonder if they got a dinosaur in here.
Yeah, he picks. What does he end up picking, my friends? He ends up picking a rhinoceros. One comment I do want to make here.
Yes.
In the entire run of this IDW, you notice that there's not many human mutations. Really, it doesn't happen often.
It's usually the other way around.
Animal. Right, yeah, like this human to animal mutation, you don't see it very often, but it doesn't mean that these are the only two. There are a limited amount coming in the future too.
Okay, that makes sense. I figured there'd be more. I do want to say that this first page where you see Bebop and Rocksteady together, I really like how menacing they look. And Rocksteady, this is the most menacing I've ever seen this character. And that's impressive.
As far as Bebop, you mean?
Well, both of them.
Oh. No, I think it's some really good art. It's really actually some pretty badass art of them.
Yeah. I mean, they're just the way they did them in this. And like this comic to me is at times almost like a horror comic. Like there's certain images that really kind of reflect horror element to it.
We got a few coming up.
Yeah. But like this early on, you have them, they get into a truck with Karai because she's going to go meet with the Ghost Brothers or whatever they're called.
Ghost Boys.
Ghost Boys, yeah. That makes more sense. And I do like how Bebop and Rocksteady are being all stupid and talking, oh yeah, we're going to be friends with the Shredder. And the 1 foot ninja gets all pissed off. Like, The master is no
actually
one's
slaps
friend,
him.
and slaps him.
Yeah,
Like,
and gets
but
away with it.
I mean, it also makes sense because the people that are following Shredder are maniacs. To be honest, like it's a cult essentially.
Pretty much.
You know, so they see him as like a god. I mean, if you're being sacrificed the way they're being sacrificed, like you have to see your leader.
You're talking about some like feudal Japan era, like death ninja samurai looking guy, and you're saying, "Oh, meet the best friend."
Well, they don't even know what he looks like at this point. They've never met him.
Right, which is even worse. Like they're talking, "Oh, we could be friends," and this guy knows how Shredder looks, so he's like, "Oh, there's no fucking way I'm letting this go."
I got a kick out of it. And then you have them meet the Ghost Boys, where Karai is trying to get the leader to go meet Shredder, and pretty much get all the gangs to follow suit. And
she's trying to get her to. Well, she's threatening her to submit.
Yeah, which doesn't work out too well.
We'll see why in a second.
And this is how stupid these two characters are. So Bebop and Rocksteady are standing outside with a bunch of the Ghost Boys guards, and they do the stupid thing like, "Look what's on your face. Look what's look what's here." They point to someone's chest and then hit them in the nose. Except in this case, they're super powerful.
Yeah, and breaks the guy's nose.
And then they just start fighting. Like, I found this funny when they just start beating the shit out of everybody.
Well, this is a display of their strength even to them. Like they weren't aware just how strong they were. I'm sure they felt strong, but to actually like uppercut a guy across like a football field, as we can see in this panel, and out of the window, like I didn't probably know they were that damn strong. It's a
bunch of really good panels.
It is. It's completely ridiculous, but it's also terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. And then, like, the Ghost Boys, because you have Karai and them, or, she's having the meeting. When she comes out from the meeting, they hear all this noise. They're just Bebop and Rocksteady, the only people standing with guns, and they're like, "Oh, they started it."
Yeah, and you know what's not? Well, yeah, they're compulsive liars, but at the same time, they think that I think they genuinely think that they did start it, like the other side in this case, because they were just playing around, freaking noses.
They're just that stupid.
Yeah.
But this is where you get to see some of the power. Like, you see Rocksteady he tackles a guy that's trying to shoot him and just bumbers him to a wall, and, he's dead. There's no coming back.
That guy is like paste.
Yes. That. There's no coming back from that one. You get shoved into a wall, I'm pretty sure you're dead.
Well, with that kind of force, yes. I mean, you're talking about like let's say a wrecking ball with legs coming at you.
You're not going to be okay, you think?
I would estimate no. I'm not a doctor, but
again, it's a really good scene. And then
I did like hear that Rocksteady tried to use his head for a second. He was like literally use his head for a second and cut her off and go through the walls. I thought that was actually kind of smart.
It was
until
he misses her.
That and what happens to the damn building afterward.
I mean, they are cool. Like just the panels of seeing him run through all the different walls trying to get to her and cut her off.
It's just like a goofy ass cartoon.
It is.
Look at as Bebop behind him with his arms outstretched, trying to chase him as best he can.
So stupid. And then you have an image where they're getting shot up by the Ghost Boys, and they turn around, and that's one of the panels that looks like straight out of a horror.
Right.
Just the look of his face.
Exactly the one you were talking about, because that is absolutely horrifying. If I was those Ghost Boys, I would have a loaf of shit in my white pants.
I mean,
right at that moment.
And just the way that they made these two dumbass characters, joke characters, in my opinion, before into something so like they're terrifying in these issues.
And I'm glad they didn't make them too serious. I'm glad they made them still stupid in a very funny way, a more evolved way than what they had in the '87 cartoon. They're kind of bumbling buffoons, but in a very, like, the consequences are very real for how stupid they are for everybody around them, not just them, but people around them, because they're almost damn near invulnerable. Bebop's getting shot in the back at least 4 times.
And he's fine.
And all he's going to do is regenerate.
It's very cool to see how powerful they are, because I don't think we get that often, and I definitely enjoyed seeing that in this.
You get it in some of the games. There was a PS4 game that came out some years ago where you kind of get to see that power and just how deadly they can be, but you don't get to see it enough. And in IDW, they actually pulled it off. Are
you talking about the Platinum game for Turtles?
That is the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
yes.
Never played it. I own it, but never played it. So.
I still have it, but I don't have a PS4 anymore.
Oh. Okay, I sold the PS4. And then you have, so the leader of the Ghost Boys gets outside the building like you were talking about, where they're like, oh god, the cops, what are we going to do? And the whole building just falls apart, killing her and everybody else for the Ghost Boys. So yeah. I thought that was cool. Like that everyone just dies and they're like, we killed everybody. They just run away through the cop cars.
They're like big, mutated, dumb children that have real consequences to their very, very stupid actions, and people die because of it.
Yeah.
And wait till you see, like later on, Bebop and Rocksteady, especially in one specific arc that I keep thinking about, and I really want you to read through. They're one of the main points in it, and it's very good.
We'll definitely, we ain't gonna stop. As long as you're up for recording about these, I will go through all the way up to wherever the hell we end up. So
hey, it's fine with me because I would love to recap some of the stuff that I completely forgot about.
And then you have Bebop and Rocksteady. They end up running into a train here. They're like, Karai, we killed her. They're like, we'll tell Shredder that she betrayed him. Yeah, we'll be his best friends. And then they find out that Karai's not dead, and the Foot show up, and she just like, okay, you guys are useless. I'm gonna just cut my losses and kill you. And they get attacked by all these Foot soldiers, and you just see a whole like 2-page spread of them just beating the shit out of them. And there's one panel with them covered in blood with swords and stuff sticking out of them, and they're okay. Like they're alive.
They demolished these trained warriors.
Yeah.
They obliterated these trained warriors.
And now you see why they were trying to pick up more Foot soldiers earlier in the series. With the Karai issue, because they're just wasting them.
And if you look at Karai, like she's standing there face to face with these things, and you almost think like, damn, if she didn't flee, is this the time to go? And she takes care of business, fearless.
Yeah, she's a great character.
She is, and she's very much Shredder's family line. There's anybody close to being who Shredder was, it's going to be her.
And I'm happy that her father, her grandfather in this case, is in Utram, so that makes me happy too.
Yeah,
so, I'm glad that Shredder's not an Utram. I'm so glad. Much as I love that 2003 cartoon, I'm glad it's not an Utram. So, and the way that she beats them is she shoves a clip into Rocksteady's mouth, puts a sword up to it, and says something about, if you don't do what I say, like, I'll kill you. I'm not sure what she's going to do. But I guess
she was probably going to put that sword down his damn throat.
Oh, that would probably do the trick.
Yeah. She went the right route with that one.
And that's what leads to them then, being submissive to her and be like, okay, she's like, you can stay. You just, you work for me and do what I say, type of thing, or something like that. But then for the last part of this, you see them back at their old apartment, and they're laughing about how lucky they are. Then they destroy the place.
Yep. Good way to end it, as they laugh about it hysterically.
It was good.
Good way to end it.
And then that brings us to issue 27, which we have to talk about this cover, where you have the Hun on the cover, Shredder, and the Turtles, all but Leo, just fighting. And that looks really cool. And this is almost the end of City Fall. This is when I think I feel like these two last books, shit hit the fan. Like when I read this the first time, I couldn't stop. I had even though I was like, okay, I'm going to be done for the night. No, I got to read the next issue. I had to finish this because it was just too much, too good.
Some good stuff.
Yeah. This is where you have Mikey's been working with his buddy Woody from the pizza place, and they're delivering pizzas to random gangsters that he delivered to before to see if they can get information. And I like this.
Paid off. It was a long shot. It was. I guess Mikey's not a very logical guy, not the brightest guy. So for him to just take a shot in the dark and go along with his plan, and Woody's the same person, just human, and it actually pays off. Worked out well for him.
The part where they come he comes into the building, the guy's like, why are you a turtle? He's like, it's a costume.
Yep.
I like
it's a damn good costume if that's the case.
And the guy's like, all right, we didn't order pizza, we'll take it. Oh yeah, Mikey's Turtle Pizza, where you always get a shell of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Even though it clearly says Rupert's on the box.
Yeah. Well, and then the guy's like, okay, well, he puts a gun on him. Okay, we'll take the pizza, for free. And then he just punches him in the face with it. He's like, on the house? How about on the face?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It made me laugh. And then Mikey just beats the shit out of people, and this is where he finds out about the Shredder meeting. You have a small scene with Angel confronting the Hun again at the Purple Dragons, and he's going to kill her. But then this is when the Shredder tells them that, they have to show up or be killed. And then everybody votes to go with the Hun, which makes sense. It definitely makes sense that the gangsters would follow the big tough, the Rock wannabe versus the woman. So,
Right. I mean,
makes sense.
Survival of the fittest in this case.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they're not exactly good people.
Or the brightest in most cases.
No, so it makes sense. And this, with the Hun, they're probably making a lot more money because, they're now doing more crime. So they're, they have more of an income. Like, they're going to follow the guy that's bringing them more money. Not,
and that's what he bribes them with. He says, do you want to follow Angel and those dirty, filthy turtles, or do you want to make some really good money and stick with me?
And as much as drug documentaries I have watched, that completely fits. Makes sense.
There you go.
I watch a lot of drug documentaries, by the way. I just really like drug documentaries.
You and Sheila could do a podcast on that because she won't stop watching shit like that either.
And then you have a small scene where Leo is trying out the gauntlet, and but they make comment about how smart April is, compared to the rest of them. So I like that.
Yeah, I think Raph was just really like pulling Donnie's chain on this one. I mean, they're probably comparable in intelligence, but I think because Donnie's like one of the top main characters, they're gonna give him that slight edge. But
but
Donnie's
she's
humble. April's got to be, if not the smartest person in almost every room she's in, at least the next smartest, especially when you're talking Donnie. So
and then you have Michelangelo show up and tell them, he found out where they are, which then leads to Splinter tell him it's time for them to go do it. And you have an interesting flash or dream where Leo is seeing the dream of how the turtles were killed, except they're all turtles, his brothers are, and then they're all being killed by the Shredder. And, and his mother is, to me, it felt like his mother was trying to get to him and, change the brainwashing.
That is exactly what's happening. So whether it is her, or just his inner morality starting to spark and his real true personality coming to light, they don't really clarify. But I will tell you that this isn't the only time that the turtles deal with the mom in this kind of way.
Okay,
so
it
cool. Might actually be real. But I think the writers intentionally want you to try to like interpret that on your own.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And I also like how he cries out mother and then Karai comes because, he's having bad dreams. Well, she hates him, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she has complete reason to hate him because, that's what Shredder's up to. Shredder purposely put him in that situation so she would hate him.
She hates nobody more than Leo right now.
Yeah, because Leo took over what should be hers. And Shredder's a manipulative piece of shit. So, he is. Shredder's terrible.
That's just who he is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's like, a bad written character. No, he's a great written character. He's just a piece of shit character.
And that's why the writing's so good.
Yeah.
They make him to be such a piece of shit.
That's odd. Just the manipulative part, because like you really see it at the. I don't know if I'm at the end of this or in the Shredder thing we're going to talk about after this, but it's definitely coming up. And this is then where you have the group with Hob and they're loading all these weapons on the back of the truck, and the van is fixed miraculously from Secret History of the Foot. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, it is. It doesn't even look damaged.
No, and this is when April then tells Casey that they're going to go attack. They're going to go get Leo back, pretty much, and then you have a small scene with Alopex talking to Kitsune, and this is again where I feel like Kitsune is sowing the seeds that will lead to Shredder's demise. Because Alopex, even though like we did read the miniseries with her, and you see the start where she's like, I'm going to kill Shredder someday, Kitsune is also planting that seed too here.
Well, there's a seed here for also how Alopex will eventually evolve into some of her own storylines too. So you'll see more of that too. This is kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing for her.
Okay. Because what Kitsune's line is near the end of this little section is, know this, Alopex, we foxes must be both sly and cautious, for treachery lurks around every corner. We must always know when to watch and when to act. And I feel like
she hesitates when she says that, and
yeah,
that kind of indicates to us that, and even Alopex, that you kind of know what you're up to. So be smart about it in less words.
Yeah, and I feel like Kitsune doesn't give a shit about Shredder. She's just using him. I really believe that. I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm excited. and then this is where you have Angel shows up to Casey Jones, brings him his old mask that fell off in the early part of his arc.
To match his old ass flip phone that he has in his hands.
I did find that kind of funny.
I mean, this came out, probably 2015, 16?
No, this is 2013. I can tell you shortly if you want to keep talking. 2013.
Because as you see, April has her smartphone already.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's kind of like a play on Casey's like financial situation, where he's got like a government flip phone. But I think it's kind of what they're going for.
Okay. I got some. So then you have them. So the next scene cuts to. So Casey and Angel are going to go help the turtles. It cuts to the theater where all the goons are at that are going to go meet with Shredder, and you have the turtles are gearing up, and they're also heading to the theater. And you have this is where you see Shredder standing in this abandoned theater with Leo on one side, the Savante guy, on his knees. They're going to kill him. And in the audience,
Heisenberg.
Okay, I was just going to, you see Heisenberg, you see, looks like Storm from X-Men. You have the Warriors in the background.
Yep.
I really got a kick out of this.
The guy next to Heisenberg is also supposed to be Jesse, as we'll see in further panels.
I just thought that was hilarious that they did that. They just threw him in there.
I forgot about it until I reread this. I was like, oh man, I completely forgot that was in here.
I mean, it's 100. Well, I mean, 2013. I don't remember when Breaking Bad finishes, but it would have been big in the zeitgeist at the time.
This time for sure. I want to say at this time it was probably winding down, but I don't remember when they fully ended.
I mean, I know when I watched it, it was already over, so I can't remember. I'm looking this up as we talk. But we'll see if I can figure it out. But yeah, I just thought it was just funny that it had that. I was like, wait a sec. I'm like, that's 100% Heisenberg.
That was great. I loved it.
2013 is the last season of Breaking Bad. So it
was definitely, it was up there at the time.
Yeah, this would have been at the end of it, right when they're releasing the last few episodes then.
I mean, at that year, I was actually wearing, because I remember I think everybody was waiting for final season to come out. I had a couple like Breaking Bad related like shirts, like Mario in like a hazmat suit with all this like things from the show. Like it was funny as hell, and people would see me wearing that out in public and say something about it because the show was so big at the time.
Oh yeah, it was huge. I've been meaning to rewatch it because Tiff has been like, we should watch it. I'm like, we can if you want. Like I haven't seen it in years. I'll watch it again.
She's never seen it?
No, she never saw it.
Oh, she needs to get on that.
Yeah, but I convinced her to start Star Trek with me, so I can't throw that up. She's willing to watch Star Trek with me for the first time, so.
I suppose.
That's more important to me than Breaking Bad. Even though Breaking Bad might be better, but we're gonna stick with the classic. I'm a Trekkie, 100%. So, and then this is where the Savante guy is finally killed, gets his head chopped off, which he deserves for sucking.
Oh man, that to me symbolizes the end of such a shitty group of characters.
Again, when I first saw them, I really thought they were going to be a thorn in the foot side. Like they were going to be the opposite of the foot that hurt them, and fought them throughout this comic series, and they ended up just being nothing. They were just thrown away in this arc.
Just fodder. Yeah, I mean, pointless.
That's why it bothers me so much, because it didn't seem like they served their purpose. But by Shredder killing Victor, this is kind of what really makes Leo start to see the light in a way. The brainwashing is starting to go away. I mean, I think it helps that at the same time that happens, shortly after that, you have Hobb shoot a rocket launcher at a car and they start attacking.
Well, it doesn't help that Shredder has this fetish of cutting people's heads off while they're on their knees. And Leo has been through that already.
Literally.
So, yeah.
So, on the receiving end.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then the images he sees when he's dreaming, this image in front of him right now is just really not helping the case.
You think that over years you would change up the way you kill somebody, but I guess cutting off somebody's head, I mean, especially in Japan, was very much of a thing in the feudal Japan. It was because they used to keep their heads too, put them on spikes and stuff. I mean, feudal Japan is fucking like vicious. I once watched a documentary about, God, what the hell is the Nobunaga about him?
Yeah.
Except in this version, he didn't get hit by an arrow, then come back from the dead and raise a demon army or anything like that. That didn't happen in the real life story. But it's very, very good. And he also was killed by his own people, because he got too powerful, and one of his, I think he was going to kill, I forget the exact reason, but he did something that really pissed off one of his generals or lieutenants, and he took his head instead. Yeah. Word of the wise, when you're a warlord, don't kill your people's family. It doesn't work out well for you.
I don't think so.
I don't remember exactly what he did, but yeah, no, it's definitely, it's cool. So,
yeah, for any warlords listening to this podcast.
Hey, there's a whole documentary about How to Be a Dictator on Netflix that I watched once that talks about the ones that all have failed. And word to the wise, almost every dictator gets their head chopped off at some point, or hung or murdered brutally by their people. Almost every single one. Very few of them die of natural causes. There's your fun fact for the day. So you have Donatello tosses a car through the building. That's how they get into the building. At the same time, you have Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Splinter. They go inside. Hobb and Slash stay outside and just fight. I mean, Slash is just beating the shit out of people with a pipe.
Yeah, Slash has absolutely no problems out here. They're shooting the hell out of this guy.
Yeah, he don't care.
Those bullets are bouncing off of him. He's just probably having the time of his life. He has no threat. I don't even think he sustains any real damage throughout this whole conflict.
No, I don't think so either.
And then Hun takes a damn machine gun from what looks like a teenager and shoots Hobb in the leg.
Yeah, and I mean, because Hobb, he doesn't have unbreakable skin or anything.
Mm-mm.
And then you see Hun is about to shoot Slash, and this is when Casey Jones shows up, even though I don't think that gun wouldn't have hurt him. But having Casey Jones and Angel fight the Hun makes perfect sense, in this. And this arc jumps back and forth in this issue of Casey Jones, the Hun fighting, you have Shredder and the Turtles fighting. There's a lot of stuff all going on at once. Well, maybe it's more of the next issue, because I just scrolled down. It isn't much of this issue, so they're just starting to fight. And they're trying to get Leo to come to his senses. And you have and then Karai shoots Donatello's gauntlet, the levitating thing with an arrow, which then puts it out of commission. And then she shows up and she has two idiots with her, Rocksteady and Bebop, who looks fucking menacing in this.
Yeah, they look very intimidating in this shot.
And he has a chain. And seeing Bebop with a chainsaw, all I could think of is that it's supposed to be a reference to Scarface. I don't know. That's what went through my head.
I don't know if that's what they're going for, but yeah.
Probably not.
It's
just because when I think of a chainsaw, I think of Scarface.
Right.
In this type of situation.
Hey, I mean, these guys are in the same line of work, so.
Yeah, and then Rocksteady has looks like a little sledgehammer in his hands compared to him. It looks tiny.
Oh yeah, that shit's actually bigger than Karai.
Yeah, it's I don't think he needs a sledgehammer. I think he should have a giant club. He should have Habel's tooth.
His arms are already bigger than
That's what he should have.
Karai is.
He should have Habel's weapon from Dark Souls, that big giant dragon's tooth thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Then it would be fitting. That fucker. When I first played Dark Souls, that fucker killed me so many times before I finally got him. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I actually don't remember, no.
Oh, in Dark Souls 1, early on for those listening, you go to a tower. If you go all the way to the bottom of the tower, you don't need to go to, there's a guy, a knight, with a big fucking club. And he will beat the shit out of you. One hit kill if you don't dodge. So, one hit kill much later in the game, too. And then this brings us to our last issue of City Fall. Not the last issue we're going to talk about in this episode, but the last issue of City Fall. And the cover is just Shredder. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's a good, to me, that's kind of almost like a throwback to the Mirage Shredder. That looks very much so like him. Anytime he takes the cape off with this iteration, it reminds me of that Mirage Shredder.
Yeah, I'll agree. No, it definitely is a good look. And because in the end you had Rocksteady and Bebop, we said, show up, and then when this starts off, you just see them beating the shit out of the turtle. They're just tossing them through walls.
They're getting slammed against something, every single one of them.
Because again, I mean, these are just so powerful, these two characters. And this is when you have Casey Jones fighting the Hun, and he smacks him in the face with a baseball bat, and I think he breaks it on him at one point throughout this too, in this fight.
When Arnold blocks it, or Hun blocks it.
Okay, that's
his arm. That's when it snaps, yeah. But he, as you see, this is Casey's dad, right? He goes for a home run on his face. Like his whole form, everything. That's like a home run kind of swing. And he lifts Hun off his damn feet again. You're talking about like a 300-pounder.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot of force.
He's trying to kill him.
Pretty much. I mean, anybody else would have had, if not died, they would have had your concussion, broken jaw. I mean, Hun's just getting up, bleeding a little bit, but he's kind of fine. He's still talking.
Because this shows you what the mutant did to him. It didn't just de-age him; it made him into a fucking monster, essentially.
It did. It definitely did.
So, and this is also when you have the turtles are fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, and you see them struggling for most of this fight. Like they are not winning.
There's just not much they can do at this point. I mean, these guys are huge. I mean, if Leo's around, they can coordinate better. Yeah, to think nobody's calling the shots here with them either. Yeah, I'm sure they're capable on their own of kind of figuring some shit out. But nobody's calling the shots. And at this point, you probably need some sharper weapons to try to get through what their skin is made out of. A bow staff and nunchucks aren't going to be doing too much. I mean, Michelangelo here kind of has a fair shot on Rock's balls here, but
that's probably about it, though.
That's about it.
Yeah, I mean that would work, though. I mean, I doubt those are that strong.
Right.
So I got to ask you this. So when April shows up wearing the gauntlet and she pretty much, phases out of because she's in stealth. Have you seen Ant-Man the Wasp?
I have, yeah.
Okay, all I could think of was Ghost. All I could think of when I saw this scene.
I completely, yeah. I thought of it too when I first read this. Same thing. But that cloak, even that fucking thing has a role later on in the comics.
Okay, cool. And for the record, Ant-Man and the Wasp came out in 2018, but the Ghost character in Marvel comes out in like the 70s or 80s. So that's
I didn't watch Ant-Man and Wasp until much later. So
good movie.
I mean, this comic I didn't read till much later. I didn't read this when it first came out.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, it's just cool. I like seeing that, and I look forward to hearing more of that. This is where you have Shredder then gets mad at Leo because Leo isn't doing anything. He's just like, "Where is Mother?" Because again, it's starting to wear off. So I like that. And this is when Splinter shows up and says, "Don't touch my son."
Yeah, because Shredder has a habit of using kids that aren't his, apparently.
I mean, he has a habit of abusing people in general.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a terrible person. So yeah, that's what I got. He's just a terrible ass person. And I look forward to reading more because I'm pretty sure, based on the fact there's a mini-series called Shredder in Hell, he dies at some point. So, but that's my assumption. I can't wait. And this is where you have then the Hun is about to kill Angel, even though Angel is the daughter of his best friend. He's going to kill her.
Yeah.
He slams her to the ground, which should give her a concussion. She should be done right there. I mean, if that kind of muscle slams her head into concrete, you're dead already, in my opinion, in real life. Not in this. He's going to finish it off by treating her like a vampire and stabbing her with a stake. So, and then Hobb comes to the rescue because Hobb shoots him in the shoulder, and then Casey Jones just slams into him. And then Slash comes up and just picks him up like nothing, just punches him in the face.
Look at how that's done too, because Hun picks Casey up like he's nothing, and then Slash comes by and picks him up like he's nothing. But that was a good way to do it.
And then you have Casey Jones be like, "Oh, I broke my stitches," and Angel's mad at him, and Hun is just knocked out and then done after this part. But it's really good. And then you see Splinter and Shredder fighting, and Leo tries to go save Shredder, and then Raphael stops him, which I like that too a lot.
Yeah.
I like seeing them fight where Raphael's like, you're not in your sense. Otherwise, you would be able to beat me. You wouldn't fall for this trip.
Yeah.
Really good.
What gets me is that Shredder actually gets the best of Splinter here.
Anger. Splinter isn't himself. Splinter is angry that his son has been taken from him. He's doesn't understand what happened. Like, none of them understand how he got brainwashed. I don't think they realize, even though I know Splinter's aware of Kitsune, I don't think he grasps what actually happened.
Yeah, he would have mentioned it by now if he had any indication of what was really going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he gets his ass handed to him by Splinter. I mean, by Shredder. He gets his leg broken. Shredder stabs right into his leg, and I'm assuming breaks it, if not almost cuts the fucker off. So,
he breaks the hell out of it.
Yeah, and it's only when that happens that Alopax saves them, because Alopax jumps up and attacks Shredder, and you see her seeing Shredder as the bear. And I'm assuming it's because of Kitsune.
Saying the word, because he said the word family, and she was waiting for the moment to strike anyway. And in this big melee chaos, and with him saying that, it caused her to just lose her shit again.
Yeah, and I also think Kitsune planted that seed even more so than that miniseries.
Well, yeah, I mean, when she said wait for your time to strike, I mean, this, again, being that this is such a huge melee and people are distracted, she can maybe do what she needs to do.
I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't work out for her because she gets shot in the shoulder by Karai, who calls her a traitorous cur.
Yeah.
I do like that. And during this whole time, you see that April's been fending off Rocksteady and Bebop with her gauntlet. Like, she's the one that's keeping them busy.
Just running out of battery.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, too, to have her being the one that's, keeping them at bay. And then it ends up the whole scene of them, they get Leo because Raphael was able to talk sense into him, kind of. He's not all right. Slash breaks a hole in the wall for them, and they just run out and jump in the truck with Hobb driving.
Well, I think it was important for, like, when Donnie was using it and he lifted up a car with the thing. So that lets you see just how strong those gauntlets are. So for her to hold them back isn't, far-fetched or anything.
Yeah, because you're already introduced to how powerful they are.
No.
I like how they're chasing after them. Like, they would have caught that truck, but Hobbs like, here you go, and he just throws a grenade out the window.
Yep.
I really like that. And then
I'll tell you, as Hobb goes on, he's not a horrible character. He's a complete asshole. But he's not always that bad. He's going to be that kind, though. He's that kind of anti-hero. He's like a goddamn Venom on that. Sometimes he's your enemy, sometimes he's not.
He's growing on me. That's for sure. And I do like the last thing you see of Rocksteady here, Rocksteady and Bebop, they got blown up by the grenade. Like, we still going to get a paycheck?
Yeah.
And then this is where you then see Shredder with a bunch of the Savante people bringing him money. What's left of the Savante people, the mafia bosses or whoever they are.
French mafia, fake mafia.
Yeah, and this is where I feel that Shredder is lying to Karai, where he tells Karai, she's like, you betrayed me, kind of, you went behind my back and you made these mutants. And he's like, you are my Chunin. All this was a test. And I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe he went through all that work to get Kitsune to get Leo just to test Karai.
So it kind of helped for him to say that, because without that explanation, I felt like getting Leo and brainwashing him, and especially if it isn't like it's possible to break, like I felt like it was a waste of time anyway. So for him to have multiple, I felt like for him to have multiple like ambitions or motivations towards turning Leo, I thought better and smarter being the character that he is. Now, was it solely just to test Karai? Probably not. But is that part of it? Possibly.
I took it more as he had wanted to use Leo because Leo is a better fighter, but because it failed, then he was using Karai. Because I feel like he's using somebody at all times.
So you got to think of this too, because Shredder could have used Leo and to his bidding, but then it's always that flawed mechanism of Leo, possibly breaking out of it, whatever, his brainwashing. He's not willingly doing it, so he's got to fight with that. You got to upkeep that. Now, wouldn't it have been more effective? All right, we kidnapped a turtle, one of our mortal enemies up to this point. Let's just eliminate him and kill his son once again. Because he also mentions that he wanted to screw with Tomato Yoshi on top of that.
Which he did.
So he did. He played mind games. Wouldn't killing Leo just been more effective? And if Karai was already practically ready for that position.
It just feels like a very manipulation thing of him using how things worked out in the end in his favor.
I feel like the writing case for Leo to turn the way he did, they still didn't justify it well enough by the end of this arc.
No, I think he really thought Leo would be the right second in command for him, and it just didn't work out, and then Karai was all he had left.
I guess so, yeah.
I also think he takes Karai for advantage, I didn't say that right. He takes her for, what the hell is the word I want?
He takes advantage
granted.
of her.
He takes her, takes her for granted too. Like, he doesn't see her as much as he should, as you found out in the in the one shot. She brought him back. She's very powerful and capable. Yeah, she's very capable. I mean, she brought the foot into what the foot is now, but he's too stuck up and too, pig-headed in a way that all he thinks about is himself. And he only thinks he's the only one capable of doing anything in this world because he's just, grander. Like, that's what he thinks. And I think this is also the ending of this arc. I mean, essentially Shredder won. They took over the city. You see, all the turtles are getting into a van to drive off with Casey and April to a farm because they can't be here anymore because they know they're being hunted. You have Splinter tries to touch Leo, and Leo kind of freaks out, and he gives his gauntlet thing that Shredder gave him and the bandana to Slash, which I thought was cool.
So you gotta think of this. There's two bigger rival gangs that are now eliminated. Savate is dead. Ghost Boys are done. His biggest enemy is now fled, like you said, to Northampton.
Yeah.
That he knows that, but they fled the city, and now he has more firepower than ever with Bebop and Rocksteady. He possibly proved that Karai is who she needs to be and as ruthless as he is. I mean, there's a win in every column for Shredder by the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely lost nothing. Alopex, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You got Bebop and Rocksteady for Alopex. Why not?
Yeah, much better for him. Oh, it was, and that brings us to the last issue we're going to talk about. So did you get a chance to read the Shredder one also?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. This is my least favorite of everything that we read, except this to me is also the last part of City Fall, really, because it kind of wraps up like a little bit of what happened, where it talks about, we own the city now, and people try to, go against us, and we just murder them. So
right.
And it's very good I think it's Kitsune that, asks Shredder what happened to him, why he's acting the way he is. And he talks about how he died essentially and went to hell.
Well, she brings it up because he avoids the topic of him being resurrected. And she's like, well, why do you keep avoiding that topic? And then he's like, all right, well, since you're asking, here we go.
It's a cool concept, but this was my least favorite of the stuff we read. Because it really, I do like how, he's in hell and you've seen all these other warriors and the people he's fighting. Like, you have a soldier that fought in Japan in World War II. You have a colonial soldier from the Civil War, American Civil War. You have a lot of really interesting things they drew of all these people he's fighting. I did like that. The whole idea is just him, fighting zombies.
This just reminds me of like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
The whole issue.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. It's just him fighting these armies and getting an army to fight demons. And then he goes in the demon stronghold to kill the leader. And when he kills the leader and takes over, when the mask falls off, it's him it's him as an old man.
The kid or demon takes it off, and then he explains to him
that time doesn't work that way.
Yeah, time isn't linear here. This is you in the future, but present, whatever.
Yeah.
But Shredder's, again, anytime he looks at an obstacle or situation, he wants to conquer it and overcome it. And even this one that he doesn't necessarily need to deal with, chooses to want to conquer it anyway.
Yeah. Also, that kid really reminded me of the Skull Kid from Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Just the same, like, not look, but just the same way he acts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have like he tells Shredder, like, you will lead armies, you will conquer the world, and then you will destroy it. And then you will die as all men do, no matter how powerful they think they are. I'm guessing that part doesn't happen, where he doesn't destroy the world. So I look forward to reading more comics. So, but it's kind of cool to kind of like show you what's troubling Shredder, and where he leaves out the part because soon he has that dream every single night. He sees, the man himself when he kills himself.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. I thought that was. It's interesting, but it was just my least favorite of this whole thing. But it's still not bad at all. I mean,
it felt like to have a villain micro to where they focused solely on that character, it was a little more throwaway than some of the others. But then you got to think of this, right? Like Hun and some of the other guys, or even Hob, they had backstories to tell that weren't told before. Shredder, we know his entire backstory by now.
Yeah.
So this is one of those parts that we really didn't know. I mean, in the writer's room, they're probably like, well, how can we cover a Shredder micro? Like, what are we going to actually cover? We know his history. Like, what about when he was dead? When he was in that ooze for all that time? Let's do that. So, I mean, it kind of like running out of options, and they did the best they could, but I think what they had left.
That makes sense. That's a good way to put it, though. And it fits what they're, it fits. All right, and that brings us to our...
Could it have been a little more exciting? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It was okay, I guess.
Yeah. And that brings us to our last segment, Shelf Stacker Box. And I'll go first. I'm just going to rate this because, in my opinion, all this is essentially one thing. It's really just one series. It's not all the villain micro series pretty much all connect to this. So I consider it just for the rating system. We're just doing one thing. I'm going to put the whole City Fall arc on the shelf. This was by far the best thing we read so far of TMT. This was fucking amazing. So going on the shelf, and I'm so glad I read it. And I can't wait to read more. And what about you?
Well, I think at the end of the day, I got to shelve it. It has its flaws, as we kind of discussed as we went through. I didn't enjoy all the writing in it, but at the same time, I think it's a damn good arc. And one of the more serious, kind of like more like consequential ones that we've run up to until this point. So yeah, I'd shelve it.
Okay. I can't wait to some of the stuff that comes up later. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited. And if you enjoyed this, go check out our other TMT. We have been doing a bunch of other TMT comics up to this, so definitely go check all those out. We have a few TMT movie episodes you go find. I don't feel like reading them right now, but go find them in our giant catalog. They are in there. You can find every episode we've done on Podbean. So definitely go scroll through our giant catalog and find out what you're looking for. There's tons of content that we have created. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasfear. You can follow her on TikTok. And also, if you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. You'll see a link in the show notes. For a little dollar, you can vote in our Patreon polls. So please go do that. If you want to chat with us, you can join our Discord. You'll see a link in the show notes for our Discord, too. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU movies with me. Started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. Audio only, but we are on YouTube. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.